GBNews.com.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's a time for the vegan community to get together, as well as an opportunity for non-vegans to try going plant-based.
Well, joining us now is some of her delicious hummus. We both love hummus. This is a great thing. This is the founder of Chickpea, Hannah McCollum. Hannah, lovely to meet you. And you've brought in some of your beautiful products in front of you here. So can you talk us through some of them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a range of chilled hummus, and then latest to the range are a new ambient snack pot, which is a fridgeless hummus that doesn't require refrigeration. But I started Chickpea because of my love for hummus, but also sustainability and reducing food waste and encouraging people to be more plant-based without saying go vegan.
Does normal, say, traditional hummus have anything that's not vegan appropriate in it?
Not really.
No,
I think
it's always chickpeas, olive oil, maybe some other bits.
Yeah, lemon juice, aquafibre or water to help with consistency, garlic, and rapeseed oil or olive oil.
And there's a bit of a misconception about veganism that I hear a lot, where people say, look, I'm not a vegan, I love my steaks, I'll just get out of there now. But there's a misconception that you don't get the protein, you don't get the fats, and you're kind of just eating processed salads and, fake meat and things. But that's not quite the case, especially with chickpeas, right?
Yeah, I think protein is really important, and actually a lot of people think I need a certain amount of fish every week or meat, but actually a lot of the fish and meat that you're eating are eating higher protein foods, so algae, seaweed, pulses, all these types of plant-based foods. For me, veganism is like you could have a delicious rye seeded bread with just loads of roasted vegetables, seeds, tahini sauce on top.
That sounds
and there's nothing beige in there at all.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Morning, 9:30 on Tuesday, the 10th of December, live across the UK, Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner.
Good morning. So the UK could be a threat from British jihadists as thousands of terrorists are released from Syrian prisons.
We have paused asylum decisions on cases from Syria while the Home Office reviews and monitors the current situation.
So that's the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, who says all decisions on Syrian asylum claims have been paused as Syrians took to the streets of central London and other cities to celebrate the collapse of Assad's regime.
A new deal has been struck between the UK and Germany to stop people smuggling gangs, making it a clear criminal offence. As the Home Secretary says, it'll allow a better sharing of intelligence between nations. Haven't we heard all that before?
Always been a criminal offence. And the billionaire property tycoon Nick Candy, husband of the singer and actress Holly Valance, has defected from the Tories to Reform UK. He's the party's new treasurer. This is the man who spends 20 days a year in his £175 million penthouse flat at One Hyde Park in London. Very man of the people.
A 26-year-old man has been arrested and charged in connection with a fatal shooting of a health CEO in New York last week. The suspect was arrested whilst eating at a McDonald's restaurant 280 miles away in Pennsylvania.
And the veterans who took part in those nuclear tests in the 50s and 60s, who we've rather embraced on this programme, are enjoying a Christmas lunch together today, thanks to you, the GB News viewers and listeners, and all the money you raise for them.
Well, you might recognise the gentleman sitting beside me. We're joining Brian and all the other nuclear test veterans for their Christmas lunch here in Command today.
I'm looking forward to that. And Christmas party snubs. Find out about the legal action civil servants can take if they're not invited to the Christmas work do. You've never been to a GB News party, have you, Andrew?
Keep missing them.
Not invited.
I'm not suing, though. And President-elect Donald Trump has launched a new fragrance for Christmas. It's very romantic. It's called Fight, 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 with the tagline, a smell you don't post.
Go on.
It's a smell your enemies can't resist. Would you like to smell like Donald Trump?
Trump in a bottle. Wow.
It's $199 for men, and there's a cent for women, and it's apparently sold out already. He is brilliant.
He's
is brilliant, isn't he?
I really hope we can get some.
We're trying to get some.
Let's try and get some so
I
we
don't
can
know
let
if
you know what it smells like.
I know. I'm not sure I want to wear it, but I'd like to try it.
I'd like to too. Right, there's a lot to get through. It's going to be a good show this morning. We're here till midday. Stick with us. Here's Sam, though, with your latest news headlines.
Bev, Andrew, thank you very much and good morning to you. It's just after 9:30. The top story this morning. The UK and Germany have struck a landmark deal to crack down on migrant smuggling ahead of a major meeting of European ministers in London. Germany has pledged to tighten its laws, making it easier to prosecute smugglers, enabling small boat crossings to Britain. The agreement also includes intelligence sharing and removing smuggling content from social media to disrupt criminal networks. The Home Office says the plan will boost border security and save lives, while Germany's Interior Minister vowed to counter what she called the brutal actions of smugglers. But critics argue the measures don't go far enough as crossings still continue to rise. A woman snatched as a newborn from a Nottingham hospital in a shocking case that gripped the nation has sadly died at the age of 30. Abby Humphreys, abducted from her cot just 3 hours after being born in 1994, passed away after battling a brain tumour. Her kidnapping sparked a nationwide manhunt, ending 16 days later when she was found. Abby, who later moved to New Zealand, became a swimmer, flight attendant and IT worker before her death, which comes just years after losing her mother to cancer. Her husband, Carl, has described her as beautiful and strong, saying she fought the illness with grace and with strength. In other news today, Chancellor Rachel Reeves says every pound of taxpayers' money will face scrutiny in a fresh spending review, the first zero-based review in 17 years. She'll outline the approach alongside NHS workers today at Maidstone Hospital, promising savings and efficiencies to focus on the government's plan for change. Departments will be pushed to cut waste, aligning budgets with priorities set by Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer. The review kicks off as Rachel Reeves launches Phase 2 of the spending review later this afternoon. The billionaire Nick Candy is set to become Reform UK's treasurer, accusing the Conservatives of too many broken promises as he resigned his Tory membership. Candy, a close friend of Nigel Farage, called Reform the future of British politics and vowed to raise funds to secure its success in the next general election. The property tycoon, married to actress Holly Valance, was pictured with Donald Trump and Nigel Farage at Mar-a-Lago in 2022. Reform, boosted by Tory defections, has described Candy's appointment as its latest coup ahead of May's local elections. Hundreds of tractors are set to roll into Westminster this week as farmers protest changes to agricultural inheritance tax. Rally organisers say that October's budget proposal is a death knell for British farming, limiting 100% tax relief to the first 1 million of property. On Wednesday, tractors from across the UK will line Whitehall before a slow drive through London's streets, with speeches demanding action. Farmers are warning the tax changes threaten food security and the future of the industry in the UK, calling on the Prime Minister to rethink. And dementia has become the leading cause of death in the UK, with over 75,000 lives claimed in 2023. Alzheimer's Research UK is warning the crisis will only deepen, driven by the ageing population, unless the government steps in, they say. The charity is urging the government to use the 10-year health plan to future-proof NHS dementia services and to ensure the condition doesn't remain a death sentence. The number of people currently living with dementia is set to soar to 1.4 million by 2040, putting immense pressure on families and public services. Those are the latest headlines for now. A full roundup at the top of the hour. Now, though, it's over to Andrew and Bev.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Very good morning. Welcome to Britain's Newsroom, live across the UK on GB News with me, Bev Turner and Andrew Pearce.
So the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, has paused, in common with all countries in Europe, actually, all Syrian asylum cases, as fears grow that many jihadists who are in Syrian jails could come back to Britain.
That's right. After the collapse of Bashar al-Assad's regime, there are concerns over who will be freed from these prisons in Syria.
Think Shamima Begum.
Shamima Begum is in a camp over there, isn't she? She's in a refugee camp.
The camp could be turned out.
Yeah.
And courts have twice rebuffed her attempts to come back here, and I certainly don't want her back.
Yeah, well, the Prime Minister said that Britain and its allies must be intensely focused on the transition to a new regime in Syria amid fears of a resurgent Islamic State.
Let's talk to the former head of counter-terrorism at the MOD, Major General Chip Chapman. Chip, morning to you. Look, of course, everyone says, great, the despot has gone, Assad, but we don't know what's taking its place. We know that the rebel leader 20 years ago was steeped in the Islamic State, Al-Qaeda. They say he's changed. How do we know?
Well, you'll know by his actions, but certainly what he said in the last few days has been very encouraging. Now, I've followed Jelani and the HTS and its iterations for the last 14 years. And really, since 2017, we've said that they've gone local. That is, they're not global caliphatists. So they have been focused on the new enemy, which was Russia, and getting rid of Iran, which they saw as trying to impose a Persian imperialism of the Shia on the Sunni people. So that was their key mission, to get rid of them. Now, once that mission is achieved, they can have a new mission. But at the moment, they seem to be inclusive in their rhetoric and look to say positive things. That could all change. In terms of the prison thing, I don't think you'll see any IS jihadists being released from any Syrian prison. What we're really talking about is the complex tapestry in Syria where IS prisoners are actually held by the SDF, that's the Syria Democratic Force, the Kurds in the north. The Turks, who sponsor the Syrian National Army, hate the Kurds. If there were to be a punch-up between the Syrian National Army and the Syrian Democratic Force, and there were to be a withdrawal from the two camps where IS detainees are held, which is Al-Hajj and Al-Raqqa, where there are 9,000 detainees of those who fought for IS, along with 45,000 individuals and hangers-on, and that does include Shamima Begum. That is the real risk. Now, that 45,000 number that I mentioned is down from 70,000 in 2019. That is the real risk. Now, the Americans have always wanted those people to be taken out of that environment and sent back to their native countries. We're not in the business of doing that.
Chip, whenever the West gets involved in the Middle East, we don't seem to leave it in a better state. We're looking at live pictures here of Sir Keir Starmer talking to British troops in Cyprus. What should the UK do now? Keir Starmer was very quick to hand over 11 million quid yesterday, which I find slightly baffling because presumably there's no audit trail for where that is going at the moment. What should the UK be doing at this moment?
Well, the transition in Syria will proceed at both the speed of governance and the speed of diplomacy. The diplomacy is important because there was a UN process under UNSCR 2254 from 2015. So we should try and enable a inclusive government. And the signs of that are good in terms of Idlib province, where the Syrian part of the Syrian government, which was part of the HTS, they had 11 ministries and did partner with NGOs and the UN liaison officer. So we need to make sure that those are put in train so that we can enable this inclusive government. Now, do I think there will be bloodletting still in Syria? Yes, I do, because the Mukhabarat, which was the intelligence agencies of Syria, were absolutely nasty, torturing people, and I'm sure there'll be some local retribution in certain areas.
What about, how many jihadis do you think from Britain are in Syrian camps, Chip?
A small handful. So there's really two areas that we look at. So there are a number who are detained. That number is very small. And there's a larger number, about 260, who are unaccounted for. Now, that unaccounted for probably means that most of them are dead. And some of them may be just within the jihadist groups themselves, IS. Now, IS, let's put this in perspective. IS in Syria and Iraq is of the order of 2,500 people or were until the Americans conducted 75 airstrikes, which is a phenomenal number because normally their targeting is one every 1 or 2 months. So 75 airstrikes 2 days ago to take out sort of tented areas of IS probably has degraded that 2,500 people significantly. And the one thing you can say in the Middle East really about both Al-Qaeda and IS is there's very little nostalgia for them, because where they took their governance and their governance model, ultimately it was rejected because they were seen for what they are, a book burning, monument destroying bunch of medievalists.
You seem more optimistic than I expected this morning, Chip. You feel that the West has, reason for hope now, looking towards the Middle East with these events?
Well, I do, actually. I think that there is a potential for a more stable thing. And I think you can really see that in terms of the number of voluntary returns which are already occurring from Turkey, which hosted 3 million Syrian refugees, and the fact that Turks, for example, have reopened a border crossing called Yaladagi for the first time since 2013. Turkey is also a key player here, of course, and they also want an inclusive Syria. So I am sort of slightly optimistic for the future, not overly optimistic, but slightly optimistic.
OK, all right, great to see you there. Former head of counter-terrorism at the MOD, Major General Chip Chapman.
It will be fascinating if Begum, if that camp is closed.
Yeah.
She's displaced. She's been told twice by the court she can't come here, but she'll try again.
But it's fascinating because we've had Brits, Syrians living here, celebrating on the streets of Britain.
So are they going to go back?
Is it? Yeah, well...
Are they going to wait to see how stable the new administration is?
I mean, Austria have gone further than us, and they're actually now deporting people who are settled from Syria in Austria. Will our government have the backbone to do that? Let us know your thoughts this morning.
They should.
Now, up next, remember those nuclear veterans that you raised so much money for to get them their annual Pontins holiday.
Do you know, we wanted them to raise £25,000 and they got to £40,000 during the programme.
Exactly, which means that not only can they have a holiday, they're also having a Christmas lunch, and we're going to join them there today. Don't go anywhere. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
A Jaguar has ditched its growling big cat logo as part of what can only be described as a woke rebrand. The badge that has been used for decades, look at it, beautiful, on the bonnets of luxury cars has been swapped for a curved geometric J badge. They've also released a brand new advert, look at it, for their rebrand, which prompted Elon Musk to ask if the company actually sold cars. I thought this was a wind-up. It's not. It's true. And joining me now to discuss this is the motoring journalist Amanda Stratton. Amanda, what on earth is going on at Jaguar? The car of James Bond, Batman, Arthur Daley has gone off the scale woke. Please make me make sense of it.
The E-Type is an absolutely iconic car, and it's important that people remember that, in fact, in its heyday, Jaguar was an incredibly prestigious brand, more so really than other British brands like Aston Martin, for example. But, people in the industry are left sort of scratching their heads because you need to do something bold, you need to do something that catches people's attention, but you also need to stay true to who you are and what you are, and I'm not sure that this is it.
Amanda, that could be an advert for anything. It could be cat food. It could be Karl Lagerfeld. It could be literally anything apart from a Jag. Well, I mean, honestly, OK, we're talking about it. So we are talking about it, but we're not talking about it for the right reasons, are we?
And I think if I was going to be speculative here, I would like to think that this is actually all part of a cunning plan to get everybody talking about it. Yeah. So when they do launch the first new car that we're going to see, which, you know, people have been waiting, as I say, since 2001.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Nightmare commute? Kick it up a gear with GB News Radio. You can listen online and on DAB+, and on the GB News app. We're also on TuneIn and the Radio Player apps. From the school run to rush hour, get revved up with GB News Radio. We are the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark Dolan, and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Very good morning, 9:48. Britain's Newsroom on GB News with Andrew and Bev.
So in the 50s and 60s, we've talked about this a lot because we think it's really important. More than 22,000 British servicemen worked on nuclear tests in Australia and the South Pacific.
So these veterans want access to their medical records, compensation and a public inquiry into what happened to them.
So back in October, the veterans' annual reunion at Pontins was under threat. That's until you, the GB News viewers and listeners, stepped in. And remember this. We asked you, viewers and listeners to GB News, if you could help out. Well, you have. We wanted £25,000 to pay for the holiday.
And we're now at almost £36,000. Nearly 1,500 of you have donated this morning. Brian, what do you make of that?
If I said I was totally gobsmacked with the beautiful generosity of you, the presenters, and all of your viewers, I'm speechless.
Oh, it's lovely, Annie. Well, the generosity of you at home, with the generosity, the donations reached £52,000. And that money has gone towards a Christmas lunch for the veterans taking part today.
And they can probably have 2 trips to Pontins.
Oh, lovely.
Next year and the year after.
Well, GB News reporter Jack Carson is in Carmarthenshire this morning in Wales. Jack, we're so glad that we can have some presence there this morning. Obviously, we couldn't be there. You're there on our behalf. What's going to happen today?
Well, it's going to be a fantastic day. Merry Christmas to you. Of course, we're here for the Nuclear Test Veterans Christmas lunch. You were mentioning there their service mainly in the 50s and 60s during the UK's nuclear bomb testing. And we're delighted to be joined by 2 very familiar faces to you, Andrew and Bev. Brian Unthank and Alan Owen join us this morning. Of course, you were on the sofa a few months ago when that, big fundraising appeal started. I mean, Brian, in the end, over £50,000 raised. I mean, how did you feel seeing that amount of money that had gone, towards you in this campaign?
Good morning, everybody. I was absolutely gobsmacked on the wonderful contributions that the viewers have paid. And when I found out how much it actually was, I just could not believe how lucky we were to receive all that, especially in these hard times that we're facing at the moment. And I almost burst out crying with the actual wondrous amount, as I said, that they contributed.
It just reminds us a little bit about your service. Why this campaign matters to you. Why it's so important that this money's going to go towards the campaign. It's going towards reunions that you have in the summer, and like they just reminds us a little bit about your service and then why it's so important.
I did 28 years in the Royal Air Force, and I was on Christmas Island for 3 hydrogen bombs. And from that on, I've had quite problems with myself and my family. But talking with all the people around me who are part of the Lab Rats group, we're a fairly close-knit family now because there are so few of us left. And knowing the problems that the families and descendants are going through, it makes it harder for us to worry about how people are coping with all the problems that we're having.
I mean, Alan, you're the founder of Lab Rats International. This is the group that's dedicated itself, to getting justice, for what these veterans and civilians and others went through, where these nuclear tests, were tested and were done. Talk to us about, days like today, this Christmas lunch and this service at a church that we're going to see later on today. Tell us about why it's so important to put these events on and bring these veterans together, I guess, as much as you can.
These guys and the descendants are a unique community. We have a common bond that runs through us all, and to bring them together where they can talk about their experiences, we can just sit, and really for their mental health and well-being. These guys are aging, the descendants are aging as well, and a lot of them need this time to be together, to sit, chat, and have some fun as well. But it's important to make sure that they're never forgotten, and that's the key thing. The UK government has forgotten them, forget them, and that's the big thing, that they are part of this community that comes together at these events when we can. And they form part of the community. As Brian said, they are dwindling in numbers because of their age and other illnesses, and to have them all in one place, all together, like last night we had a meal, it was just fantastic. They were all together, there was lots of laughter, lots of joking, a few drinks, mental-wise, for their health, well-being, and to safeguard these guys, to make sure that they're still around, they're still okay. That's exactly what these events mean.
Alan, Brian, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Of course, we're going to be with them all day today as they have that Christmas lunch, and all because, as you were mentioning, Bev and Andrew, because of those generous donations that the GB News viewers gave, it's been able to put on events like we're going to see today.
Thanks, Jack. Now, still to come, Prince Harry brings his new Netflix documentary series. It's going to be so boring. It's about polo. Sorry, it's going to be boring.
Do you know what? I didn't want to leave Jack Carson. I want him to go and show us where they're going to be having their lunch. I want the decorations.
Is the turkey in the oven?
I want Jack Carson to be going in there and just like checking the sprouts and everything as the morning goes on. So we will be back to you, Jack.
If it was my mother, the sprouts would be on already.
We'll be talking about Prince Harry and polo in just a minute. Don't go anywhere.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there, very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. High pressure in charge today, a stark contrast to last week's stormy weather. Cloudy for many, but frost and fog prevalent across northern parts of the country. Scotland, Northern Ireland, seeing some low temperatures as we begin the day, and some dense fog patches could cause tricky driving conditions, particularly through the central belt, and that fog could persist into the afternoon in one or two spots. Otherwise, sunny skies for Scotland and Northern Ireland. The Northern Isles affected by cloud and rain, and some showery rain coming into the southeast of England on a brisk northeasterly breeze. That's going to make it feel cold, 7 or 8 Celsius in the south, but below freezing where any fog patches persist. And that fog will tend to reform and develop more widely once again into the evening as the sun goes down, especially through the central belt, but also across many Highland glens and into Northern Ireland as well. Some dense fog patches forming widely after dark. Meanwhile, clear skies will lead to sub-zero temperatures once again for Scotland, Northern Ireland, parts of northwest England and West Wales overnight, but a lot of cloud remains for the rest of England and Wales, and again some showery rain and a brisk breeze coming in from the northeast will keep temperatures above freezing in the south and southeast. But it's going to be a grey night across many southern and eastern parts of England as well as Wales. 4 to 6 Celsius first thing, where we've got the cloud cover, where we've got the clearer skies, all the freezing fog. Temperatures will be several degrees below freezing. So Northern Ireland, Scotland begin Wednesday similar to this morning. Frost widely, dense fog patches, some of that fog persisting into the afternoon. Otherwise, crisp winter sunshine for much of northern UK. Further south, cloudy skies continue, although some brighter interludes will emerge across central parts. Highs here of 6 to 8 Celsius.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel. Good morning, I'm Russell Holding on the A720 Edinburgh City bypass. There are westbound delays from the Sheriff Hall roundabout to the Lothian Burn junction after an accident. On the M34 in South Lanarkshire, there's a lane closed northbound where a lorry's broken down between junctions 4 and 3 from Maryville to Carlisle, causing queues. On the M6 in Cumbria, the northbound exit at junction 44 north of Carlisle is blocked by a breakdown. On the M3 in Belfast, the inside lane's closed eastbound where a lorry's broken down on Lagan Bridge, causing queues. Standard Line and Irish Ferry sailings remain suspended between Holyhead and Dublin. Train services are suspended between Birkenhead North and New Brighton because of a points failure. In Leicestershire, the A6 is closed at Kibworth Beecham north of Market Harbour after an accident. On the M6 in the West Midlands, 2 lanes are closed northbound at junction 5 near Birmingham, where a lorry's broken down, taking half an hour in queues from junction 4. And in Monmouthshire, the A40 is closed each way west of Abergavenny for emergency repairs. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
Oh, in shock. That is absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
10 a.m. Tuesday, the 10th of December, live across the UK. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner.
So is the UK now at threat from British jihadists as thousands of terrorists are released from Syrian prisons?
Have paused asylum decisions on cases from Syria while the Home Office reviews and monitors the current situation.
That was, of course, Home Secretary Yvette Cooper explaining this pause on all decisions on Syrian asylum seekers as Syrians took to the streets of central London last night to celebrate the collapse of Assad's regime.
I don't know how many are going to go back to Syria. A new deal has now been struck between Britain and Germany to try to stop people smuggling gangs, making it clear it's a criminal offence. I thought we knew that, as the Home Secretary says it will allow better sharing of intelligence between nations, which we've also heard before.
Billionaire property tycoon Nick Candy has defected from the Conservatives to Reform UK to be the party's new treasurer. This is the man who spends 20 days a year in his £175 million penthouse flat at One Hyde Park in London. Does this mean Reform are losing touch with the common people?
That's right, Nick Candy joins Reform UK as treasurer and says he'll raise enough money to make Nigel Farage the next Prime Minister.
And a 26-year-old man has been arrested and charged in connection with the fatal shooting of a health CEO in New York last week. The suspect was arrested whilst eating at a McDonald's restaurant 280 miles away in Pennsylvania.
Prince Harry's latest Netflix venture premieres today. Polo, not the mint with a hole, it's the sport of kings. Will you be giving it a watch? Is there anything that resonates less with the public than polo?
Oh, and our nuclear veterans who took part in nuclear weapons testing in the 50s and 60s are enjoying a Christmas lunch together thanks to you, the GB News viewers and listeners, and all the money that you raised for them. We're going to check in on how the chefs are getting on in the kitchen in a little while.
And Christmas party snubs find out about the legal action. Can you believe this? Civil servants can take if they're not invited to the office Christmas do. I never get invited to them here. Ever. Shall I sue?
And Trump in a bottle. US President-elect Donald Trump has launched a new fragrance for Christmas called Fight, 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 with the tagline, a smell your enemies can't resist.
Who wants to smell like Trump? That's the question. Got to give it to Trump, the show. It's a brilliant marketing wheeze. It's $199 a bottle. There's a scent for women too, the same name, apparently. It's sold out. And he's using photographs of him with the First Lady,
Oh, it really
Joe
tickles
Biden's
me, that
wife,
story.
to promote the women's scent. She'll be furious.
Right,
We
that's...
need to get some. We need to test it.
A lot of light and a lot of shade in the show today, you might say. Right, here's Sam with your news.
Bev, Andrew, thank you very much. Good morning to you. It's just after 10 o'clock. The top story this hour. The UK and Germany have struck a landmark deal to crack down on migrant smuggling ahead of a major meeting of European ministers in London. Germany has pledged to tighten its laws, making it easier to prosecute smugglers, enabling small boat crossings to Britain. The agreement also includes intelligence sharing and removing smuggling content from social media to disrupt criminal networks. The Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, says the plan will boost border security and save lives.
Where the gangs operate across borders, law enforcement needs to operate across borders as well. And that is why this joint action plan is so important. This is groundbreaking work in order to allow us to share intelligence, to better share information, to be able to strengthen our action, strengthen law enforcement and powers to be able to go after the criminal gangs and their supply chains and their illicit finance as well.
A woman snatched as a newborn from a Nottingham hospital in 1994 in a shocking case that gripped the nation has sadly died at the age of 30. Abby Humphreys, abducted from her cot just 3 hours after birth, passed away after battling a brain tumour. Her kidnapping sparked a nationwide manhunt, ending 6 days later when she was finally found. Abby, who later moved to New Zealand, became a swimmer, a flight attendant and an IT worker before her death, which comes just years after losing her mother to cancer. Her husband, Carl, has described her as beautiful and strong, saying she fought her illness with grace and strength. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has thanked British troops in Cyprus this morning for their highest form of service, he said, during a volatile time in the Middle East. He praised staff at the Akatori base for their role in fighting ISIS, delivering aid to Gaza and preparing evacuation plans for Lebanon. In a historic meeting with the Cypriot president, the leaders pledged to strengthen ties, marking the first UK-Cyprus bilateral visit in 53 years. Sir Keir Starmer said the partnership could reach even stronger levels, highlighting shared interests in defence, security and in trade. Chancellor Rachel Reeves says every pound of taxpayers' money will face scrutiny in a fresh spending review. She'll outline the approach alongside NHS workers today at Maidstone Hospital, promising savings and efficiencies to focus on the government's plan for change. Departments will be pushed to cut waste, aligning budgets with priorities set by the Prime Minister. The review kicks off as Rachel Reeves launches Phase 2 of the spending review later this afternoon. The billionaire Nick Candy has become, or is set to become, Reform UK's treasurer, accusing the Conservatives of too many broken promises as he resigned his Tory membership. Candy, a close friend of Nigel Farage, called Reform the future of British politics and vowed to raise funds to secure its success in the next election. The property tycoon, married to actress Holly Valance, was pictured with Donald Trump and Farage in Mar-a-Lago in 2022. Reform, boosted by recent Tory defections, has described Candy's appointment as its latest coup ahead of May's local elections. Hundreds of tractors will roll into Westminster this week as farmers protest changes to agricultural inheritance tax. Rally organisers say October's budget proposal is a death knell for British farming, limiting 100% tax relief to just the first £1 million of property. On Wednesday, tractors from across the UK will line Whitehall before a slow drive through London's streets, with speeches demanding action. Farmers warn the tax changes threaten food security and the future of the industry, and are now calling on the Prime Minister to rethink his plan. Dementia has become the leading cause of death in the UK, with over 75,000 lives claimed last year. Alzheimer's Research UK warns the crisis will only deepen, driven by the ageing population, unless the government steps in, they say. The charity is urging the government to use the 10-year health plan to future-proof NHS dementia services and ensure the condition doesn't remain a death sentence. The number of people living with dementia is set to soar to 1.4 million by 2024, putting immense pressure on families and public services. Alzheimer's Research UK and government officials are calling for swift action to tackle the growing challenge. And Taylor Swift's height, Bitcoin value and Mr Beast's fortune have topped the list of the most asked questions on Amazon's Alexa in the UK this year. The US pop star, still riding the high of her record-breaking Eras tour, was the go-to celeb for fans wondering about her age and how tall she really is. And in the world of net worth, only Elon Musk could outshine Swift, with Mr Beast coming in third. And when it comes to general knowledge, well, questions about Bitcoin and the population of Earth were among the year's most asked questions, along with plenty of football and food-related queries. Those are the latest headlines for now. I'm Sam Francis, back with you in around half an hour.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. What time is it? 10:08. We're going to be going back to see our veterans as well at their Christmas lunch soon.
I can almost smell the turkey.
And your mother's Brussels sprouts. That did make me giggle when you said they'd have been on already at this time. My mum too. Sorry, Mum.
They did like to cook them for a long time.
Yeah, they did.
My mum said I cook she said, you do your vegetables all posh.
In other words, they have a little bit of bite to them. Yeah. Al dente vegetables.
Exactly.
Are you that posh? Do you call them that?
Not me.
Sorry about this. I'm trying to bring up the views, but I'm having a few issues with it. Here we go. We've actually got a couple of big stories that we're going to be talking in just a moment to Silky Carlo from Big Brother Watch about the surveillance state and the creeping of the nanny state. There's a bill in Parliament being debated today about whether AI should be making decisions on our behalf, so don't go anywhere. Jackie says, listening to these two lefties presenting is as bad as enjoying the BBC.
Who's the leftist?
I presume she means us.
Blimey.
What, Tory boy Pierce here?
Never been called a lefty before.
Never been called a lefty.
Called many things, but not a lefty.
And Grumpy Granda said, I've got a sparkle in my eyes today. What have I been up to? I haven't been up to anything. Do I have a sparkle in my eyes today? Just happy. Christmas is around the corner.
She had a few last night.
I didn't. Do you know what? I've not been drinking for nearly a month. I haven't felt like it. I've been a little bit under the weather, so maybe that's why I might be looking a bit fresher of face. Julia says, Andrew and Bev, please mention the cruelty that exists in polo. This is about Prince Harry's documentary. The spurs that cause deep cuts to the horses, for example. Let's not forget that there was a story that Harry harmed a horse that he was told not to ride. It's a cruel sport for toffs. It does seem like a strange topic for Prince Harry.
I think it's smacks of desperation.
Yeah.
Does he? Because what else can he talk about? Yeah. He's done his family. He's ripped his family apart in print and on TV. Yeah. What else has he got? He's never had a proper job. He was in the army and he talked about that too much. Remember, he talked about how many...
terrorists.
Terrorists he killed.
Islamic fighters, yeah.
Yeah, he killed 20, or was it 30?
Yeah.
So now he's talking about polo, which is known as the sport of kings. I would imagine this documentary is going to have rather limited appeal.
Yeah. And also, don't forget, there's a farmers' protest tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at your messages coming in. We're going to be talking to one farmer in just a moment, the organiser of tomorrow's protest. I will be down there with my microphone tomorrow as well. They're obviously ramping up...
They're coming to Westminster, aren't they?
Pressure. Yeah, they're coming to Westminster.
With their tractors.
And Coachman to the Stars has got in touch, good morning, saying my message to the farmers, go straight to a strike. Never mind the talks with the government, they're not going to happen. Just do what Labour have done. Go straight for the action. You have the power, use it. And so on and so on. Keep your messages coming. gbnews.com/your say.
Now, Reform are billing this as a coup because the billionaire property tycoon, who's married to the actress and singer Holly Valance, he's called Nick Candy, has left the Tory party and joined Reform as its treasurer.
So he's accusing the Conservatives of making too many broken promises and breaching trust.
He owns a £175 million penthouse flat at One Hyde Park in London and lives in it barely 20 days of the year.
So with the world's richest man, Elon Musk, also rumoured to be waiting in the wings to donate millions to Reform UK, is the party losing touch with the common people by being bankrolled by billionaires? Let's talk to GBNews political editor Christopher Hope. Morning, Chris. This must be a conversation which has been had within the corridors of Reform and with the main people running the party. Do they just need the funds? Do they need the funds and the weight behind what is more than just a party, arguably a political movement? And if by doing so, do they risk losing touch with perhaps, say, your traditional Labour voter?
Yeah, morning, Beth. Morning, Andrew. Here from here in Westminster. They do think they can go toe to toe with these big parties, and therefore they need more money. The biggest donation so far to Reform UK was from Zia Youssef, the chairman, gave around £200,000. They need to raise lots of money. Nick Candy, who won't be known to many viewers, his wife will probably be known, Holly Valance, formerly Flick in Neighbours and a pop star to boot. Nick Candy promises to raise enough funds for them to win the next general election, to make Nigel Farage the Prime Minister. He, of course, has flirted with politics all year. The Tories say it's his third party in a year because earlier this year he endorsed Keir Starmer to be Prime Minister, having been, of course, a Conservative donor for many years. He funded the Sean Bailey mayoral campaign, not the one for Susan Hall, as I said in the last hour, Sean Bailey. So he's well known as bankrolling Tory efforts to beat Sadiq Khan here in London. He thinks he's got a chance. I think the party does need to step up fundraising and get more professional. The Tories are getting organised. They held a big event in Raffles Hotel last night. Donors are starting to come back to their party. There's an arms race for money going into the May local elections in England next May, which will become very rapidly, I forecast, a referendum on this Tory government. And that's why Nigel Farage has got Nick Candy to come across. He's now Reform's treasurer from next month. And then, of course, early last week we saw Tim Montgomery come across, the former, the founder of Conservative Home website, a member of the party for 36 years, Dame Andrea Jenkins, the husband of Suella Braverman. They're gradually getting a bit of noise around in Reform UK. It's the shiny bauble on the Westminster Christmas tree.
It's great they'll be thrilled at getting all these high-profile Tories crossing, but Reform are trying to win votes from the Labour Party too. They're in second place in about 90 seats. There's no Labour defectors, and aren't these right-wing Tories going to put off Labour voters?
That's certainly the risk, but you talk to Farage and he'll be out and about later with Nick Candy on GB News. I mean, he is saying that they are winning support. I mean, back in the day, you and I remember, and Bev will too, Andrew and Bev, when the Labour Party sucked in lots of money from millionaire donors who many would have thought could have put off those in the red wall, but they didn't. They need the money. I mean, they haven't got union funding. They are not a historical party that can attract the money of big business, so they have to find money somewhere, and this is how you do it, and I can see why they're doing it, and it may be successful. We'll wait and see. Of course, in the wings, there's a potential, a rumoured and not denied, but a rumoured donation from Elon Musk through a UK subsidiary of maybe up to $100 million, and that's why you've got talk in Parliament last week of this government capping donations to big parties, although no one wants that because it will also hurt the Labour Party, who want millions from union donors.
Of course, it's a murky old business, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And they need money.
Yeah.
And nobody wants political parties to be funded by the taxpayer.
No.
Absolutely not.
But would it make that much difference? I don't know why. I feel like in this country, maybe having a huge amount of money wouldn't... What will they do with that money? What do they do? Just raise awareness, leaflets through doors, social media campaigns?
It's all about digital, isn't it? They need to have a huge digital IT presence. Look how Trump did so brilliantly in America. He was brilliant on social media.
Yeah.
Completely wiped the floor with that stupid...
Nigel Farage already is.
He's doing pretty well, OK, but if you've got the millions coming in... And it also, as Chris says, they're making a lot of noise, and the Tory party isn't.
No, that's right. Now, listen, we're going to be interviewing Nick Candy to hear it from him later on this morning as to why he's involved with the Reform Party. But today, Parliament is debating AI, but nobody in the media seems to be talking about it.
The MPs are going to talk about technical legal changes to something called the Data Bill. But should we be concerned more about the rise of AI?
Well, somebody that is the director of Big Brother Watch, Silky Carlo, to tell us more. Silky, thank you so much for joining us. Can you explain to us, please, why this data bill is so important?
Good morning, and yeah, thank you for covering this because it really is important. These are highly technical legal changes, but they are designed to open the floodgates to automated decisions made about all of us in everyday life. So we hear a lot about AI in the press and from politicians and about innovation and growth and money and GDP. But actually, these are things and the decisions that can be made by machines are things that affect all of us. And it's not just about money, it's about fairness, it's about justice, privacy, our data, health, even the right to life, because already automated decisions are being made in the NHS about things like organ transplants and who is eligible for an organ transplant and who gets higher up on the list. Police forces are using AI cameras to decide who to stop and question. They also some forces are using AI in custody suites to decide who to prosecute and who to release. And of course, we're all familiar with some of the high-profile stories like the automation and AI that was used in the A-level grading scandal, which of course got it wrong for thousands of young people who had their lives affected. So we need to be really cautious when we're opening the floodgates to machines making sensitive decisions about our everyday lives. This isn't the kind of thing that should be happening in the shadows. It should be happening with an enormous amount of scrutiny and with the strongest safeguards. But actually what the Labour government is doing is saying we're going to water down massively the very few safeguards that already exist, and we're going to enable AI decisions to be made for all purposes about the public.
And that's all, therefore, the frustration that any of us feel when you're on hold to an automated number or you're talking to an AI bot. I'm just trying to get people to use their imaginations as to what that's going to feel like in the real world, Silky. Can you give us a real world example, maybe around health, let's say?
Yeah. Absolutely. There was a young woman who was waiting for a liver transplant, a life-saving operation, and she couldn't understand why she wasn't higher up on the list and why her position was where it was. She wasn't informed by the NHS. She had to do her own research and find out that there was something called the Liver Transplant Benefit Score, which, guess what, is based on lots of pieces of data and is an automated score that was sorting people as to when they should be eligible for a life-saving operation. Wow. And she then was able to find out what data was going in, why she was ranked low, and she did find that there were problems in there, and that it was effectively making a nonsensical decision. Now, in cases like that, that's a life and death decision in the NHS already being made by AI. I don't think the public have fully grasped, because of the level of secrecy, just how impactful and widespread these kinds of decisions are.
Do you know how widespread they are, Silky? I mean, how often does that sort of thing happen?
It's starting to happen in the NHS. We also saw AI creeping into the NHS during COVID, when lots of contracts were being given out left, right and centre. And we're seeing police forces increasingly using AI. It's also in the welfare system. And often, this is the kind of stuff that is used to the disadvantage of people. So the government is using algorithms to flag members of the public as potential fraudsters. And that's particularly in the welfare system, people who are already on the poverty line. This isn't happening in the city. It's not happening to multimillionaires. It's happening to people who are living on, 20, 30 pounds a week. And this is spreading across the public service, let alone the private sector.
And now I could have you on here for 2.5 hours, because I think everything that you're tapped into are the biggest threats to humanity at the moment. I'd make that as no exaggeration. But individuals in this country are soon going to be encouraged to have a digital ID to go into restaurants and pubs and clubs. What is that about, Silky?
This is happening in the same bill, that there is this digital identity framework being created by the government, as they call it. And it is basically an encouragement towards more widespread use of digital ID. In the bill, it is pitched as the government kind of giving a trust mark to the multiple different companies who offer digital ID now. I think the most important thing in that debate is to make sure that it stays optional. Yeah. Because in practice, lots of people do need to use digital ID now. For example, if you are signing a new rental agreement or, doing online banking and so on. But the really important thing is that you should always have a choice. And so we've been leading the campaign in Parliament on this bill, not only on the AI and automated decisions, but on digital ID to say, fine, make digital ID available to people who want to use it. But you have to legally safeguard our right to not use digital ID and to use other forms of ID where it's really needed. Yeah. Bearing in mind that there are well over 5 million people in this country who aren't even competent or even connected to the internet. And so a lot of people get cut out by these systems, and a lot of people just don't want to use them. Sharing identity data online can be very dangerous as well. So we do need to have these kinds of safeguards and protections so that we don't have to live in the digital matrix if we don't want to. Exactly.
Right, great to see you, Director of Big Brother Watch, Silky Carlo, there. Because the implications of that is you will never be allowed to go out without your phone. And that will have to be fully charged, and you'll have to have Wi-Fi, or you'll have to have signal.
That's why I think people make a terrible mistake when they pay for things on their phone.
Yeah.
I think you will soon... That'll be the only way you can pay. I'm never going to pay on my phone.
I hate it. I hate everything about it. Right, still to come. You've heard about Britain being soft on criminals. Well, now some are allowed to work from home to complete their community sentences.
Couldn't make this up, could you?
This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
1 in 20 people are diagnosed with seasonal affective disorder across the UK.
Yes, Healthwatch has revealed that men are more likely to suffer from this than women. Did you know?
Triggers apparently include a decrease in daylight hours, which is certainly happening around about now. If you're leaving the office, it's dark. When you come home, it's dark, as well as the falling temperatures.
Yes, and both of those things happen a lot, don't they, here in Britain? So how can we combat the symptoms of seasonal affective disorder? Well, to discuss this, we're joined now by Dr. Andreas Fonseca, the founder and director of Thrive Mental Wellbeing. Really good to see you this morning, Doctor. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Now, there'll be lots of people watching and listening this morning and saying, what a load of rubbish. It's always been cold in this country. It's always been dark. What is seasonal affective disorder? Is it really a thing?
Well, it is a thing, and it's been known for quite some time. This is not new, really. It is a form of depression. That's what it is. And it's got specific characteristics that kind of differentiate it from other forms of depression. So the reason probably we're talking more about it is because it's basically people are more aware of it and they're recognizing it more. So before you used to be sort of just saying this person's got depression, now you have some specific things to look at that can differentiate it from other kinds of depression, which is quite useful because it's got some specific forms of treatment. So the things that are different about seasonal affective disorder are that for the diagnosis you need 2 years in which you only have episodes during either the late autumn or early winter. So that's when they start, and they fade away by late spring, summer. Early summer. So that's how it works. And you cannot have any episodes at any other time. So it has to be seasonal, specifically seasonal.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Why go out on a Friday night when Friday night comes straight to your home?
Talking about.
Join me and my A-team of top pundits. Chemistry, tonight is electric. As we tackle the big stories of the day with wit, insight and fearless energy.
Man of the people.
It's all vibe.
Just a filing cabinet on wheels with a tie on.
So, order in Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, every Friday at 8, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Right, welcome back. We are joined in the studio by former Labour MP Luciana Berger and the Head of Communications at the IEA, Reem Ibrahim. Ladies,
Morning
lovely
to you
to
both.
see you.
Good morning.
Hi. Right, really want to talk about this story. Nick Timothy, MP, Conservative MP, was talking in the House of Commons yesterday about the success of the Michaela School, run by Catherine Birbalsingh, Channel 4's, as she's known, Britain's strictest head. Just watch this and watch the response from Bridget Phillipson, Education Secretary.
I'm sure the Education Secretary will want to thank all school leaders for their work in helping English schools to soar up the PISA and TIMSS rankings. But will she join me in sending personal congratulations to Catherine Birbalsingh, whose approach to discipline, the curriculum and teacher-led instruction makes her school, Michaela, the best in the country.
Mr. Speaker, I will always celebrate the fantastic work of our school leaders and teachers because they are how we will drive high and rising standards across our school system. But I think the Honourable Gentleman and I have probably more in common than he realises. He might recognise these words. The greatest injustice in Britain today is that your life is still largely determined not by your efforts and talents, but by where you come from, who your parents are and what schools you attend. This is wrong. The words of the 2017 Conservative manifesto that he was involved in writing. This government will right those wrongs and break the link between background...
Luciana, what's your response to that as a former Labour MP? It's very simple, isn't it? This is the most successful school in the country. She has an incredibly diverse group of children. They have the biggest improvement from entry into the school at year 7 to when they leave at the end of A-levels. If there's any school that should be held up as a beacon of success, it is that. Why can't she just say, well done?
Well, she did say well done. She said well done to all school leaders and teachers.
She couldn't bring herself to say that.
But she responded to the first part of his question. So his first part of the question was, will she welcome the work of all teachers and leaders, which she did in her response.
He asked us to be specific
I understand
about
that, but she did respond to the first part of the question and she welcomed the work and celebrated the work of all school leaders and teachers in this country.
All school leaders, even those who are failing?
That make she went on to say in the second part of her sentence that I've got it in front of me here that are driving high and rising standards across our school systems. I think it's important to acknowledge the work of all of our teachers.
Why couldn't she bring herself to say she's done an amazing job?
There's a few things. I mean, you know, we're all very quick to have a go. Having sat in the chamber of the House of Commons, you don't always hear. I mean, looking at the transcript of what was said, you know, it seems clear when it's picked up on the microphone, but you don't always hear exactly what is said within the chamber. It's not an excuse, but that is partly some of the challenge when you're trying to respond to questions. I've had the challenge personally of standing in the dispatch box as a shadow minister, you know, trying to deal with and field questions. You know, it's not always, you can't, the acoustics in the room, it's not looking to make excuses, but sometimes you can't always hear exactly what
that person's controversial. Catherine Birbalsingh is controversial, and the school has had some controversy because they had a Muslim pupil that wanted a prayer room at lunchtime. Catherine was taken to court over that and actually won that case. And she argues that the multiculturalism in her school is not just going to happen by accident. She has to engineer integration. She does it through lunchtime. She does it through the way that the classes are structured.
So I'm from the area.
Controversial for Bridget Phillipson.
Well, no, not the question specifically was about the achievements of the school, the academic achievements of the school, and what it has, you know, done in terms of performance and results. And you know, someone who's from that area, I grew up in Wembley. You know, it's all credit to the results that school under the leadership of that head teacher has achieved. Again, you know, I think it's
said that.
But
she didn't say that, did she? I mean, I think
it's very easy to kind of pinpoint specifically on an answer. It wasn't like she was completely dismissing the question.
It's because she's been embraced by people like Michael Gove when he was educator. I think that's the problem for the Education Secretary.
I think we can put words in her mouth, or we can come to assumptions or conclusions, and we haven't yet had a response specifically on that question from the Education Secretary. If we had a response to say that was her choice, but you know, I think you can't pick up and draw some conclusions just from one answer in the House.
Well, I think it is definitely clear that she was in some ways avoiding the question. I think you're probably right. I've not been in Parliament during a debate like this, so I don't know if the acoustics are much quieter.
It wasn't exactly a crowded chamber, was it?
No, exactly. It wasn't, and there clearly was a direct question, direct answer. answer, and the direct answer was effectively trying to avoid the question by saying that, well, we all know that inequality in education is really rife, that actually there, a lot of the time what matters is where you come from. But the Michaela's school is a state comprehensive. Yeah. The children do not pay to go to that school. I think no matter what your perspective is on how strict that particular school is, it is undoubtedly clear that they have made immeasurable achievements academically. And whether or not it is due to that approach, I think it's a really good example of a multicultural school that has actually been able to engineer that integration, as you said, Bev, but much more strictly. Now, in countries like France, they've taken away for everybody that kind of ability to portray your religion. In this particular, which I don't agree with, but in this school, what it does mean is that when you go to the school, from the morning to the afternoon, you are all exactly the same and you're all treated exactly the same. And I think that it is really, really proven to be effective.
Yeah, and it's also the fact that with Bridget Phillips and why it's important to me that we have to read between the lines, because she's made it very clear she doesn't support private education. She's punishing people whose children go to private school, and yet she can't even bring herself to applaud a gritty state school with deprivation.
I just don't accept it.
That increases social mobility. So what does she stand for as the education minister? She doesn't seem to. She just seems a bit sort of
bitter.
Bitter is the word.
I don't accept that. I mean, I've seen that she's done countless visits to schools right up and down the country.
She's been
working.
To Michaela?
Huh?
I don't think she's been to Michaela, has she? The most successful state school.
I don't know the answers.
I'm not sure she's been.
I don't know the answers to that question, so I couldn't say either way. But I do know over the course of the past 5 months, she's been to my kids' primary school, state primary school in North London, for example, and I've seen her do lots of visits to see the kind of range and plethora of education. I mean, the separate issue about private education, obviously, is that over 95% of children in this country don't go to private school. We do have an issue where too many of our schools have crumbling buildings and don't have the investment they need. And currently, those private schools enjoy VAT, have until now enjoyed VAT relief, and haven't done, I don't think, played their part to be not just islands within communities, but to help all schools in the way that they should have done.
Of course they've played their part.
They haven't.
They haven't. Now, look, I mean...
We've run out of time, guys, but you'll be back in the next hour. Sorry that was so brief. Sam is here waiting very patiently with your news at 10:33.
Bev, Andrew, thank you very much. Good morning to you. It's just after 10:30. Well, the top story this morning, the UK and Germany have struck a landmark deal to crack down on migrant smuggling ahead of a major meeting of European ministers in London. Germany has pledged to tighten its law, making it easier to prosecute smugglers, enabling small boat crossings to Britain. The agreement also includes intelligence sharing and removing smuggling content from social media to disrupt criminal networks. The Home Office says the plan will boost border security and save lives, while Germany's Interior Minister vowed to counter what she called the brutal actions of smugglers. But critics argue the measures don't go far enough as crossings continue to rise. A woman snatched at birth from a Nottingham hospital in a shocking case that gripped the nation has sadly died at the age of 30. Abby Humphreys, abducted from her cot just 3 hours after she was born in 1994, passed away after battling a brain tumour. Her kidnapping sparked a nationwide manhunt, ending 16 days later when she was finally found. Abby, who later moved to New Zealand, became a swimmer, a flight attendant and IT worker before her death, which comes just years after losing her mother to cancer. Her husband, Carl, has described her as beautiful and strong, saying she fought her illness with grace and strength. Billionaire Nick Candy is set to become Reform UK's treasurer, accusing the Conservatives of too many broken promises as he resigned his Tory membership. Candy, a close friend of Nigel Farage, called Reform the future of British politics and vowed to raise funds to secure its success in the next election. The property tycoon, married to actress Holly Valance, was pictured with Donald Trump and Farage in Mar-a-Lago in 2022. Reform, boosted by a number of Tory defections, has now described Candy's appointment as its latest coup ahead of May's local elections. A 26-year-old man has been charged with murder after United Healthcare's CEO Brian Thompson was gunned down in a targeted attack in New York last week. Police arrested Luigi Mangione at McDonald's in Pennsylvania after a customer recognised him from media reports. Officers found a so-called ghost gun, £10,000 in cash and a manifesto suggesting anger towards corporate America. Prosecutors say bullet casings marked with the words deny, defend and depose were found at the scene, potentially linking the attack to critics of private health insurance. Mangione is now awaiting extradition to New York. And hundreds of tractors are set to roll into Westminster this week as farmers protest changes to agricultural inheritance tax. Rally organisers say October's budget proposal is a death knell for British farming, limiting tax relief to the first £1 million of property. On Wednesday, tractors from across the UK will line Whitehall before a slow drive through London streets, with speeches demanding action. Farmers are warning the tax changes could threaten food security and the future of the industry in the UK. Those are the latest headlines for now. I'll be back with you at the top of the hour. Next, though, a quick look at this morning's markets.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
And here's a quick look at the markets for you this morning. The pound will buy you $1.2764 and €1.2114. The price of gold, £2,088.62 per ounce. And the FTSE 100 is currently at 8,303 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
So every day we run our poll of the day, and today we are asking, as Alzheimer's Research UK warned, the dementia crisis will only worsen. We're asking whether there should be more funding going towards dementia care in Britain. The final result will be announced later in Martin Daubney's show.
For all our latest polls, news and how to vote, just go to gbnews.com/poll.
Now, Andrew, I've been thinking about a gift for you this Christmas.
She hasn't been thinking about it for long.
How about Trump in a bottle?
Not sure I want it, really. I'm very curious in what it smells like.
President-elect.
Does it smell like him?
New fragrance. It's called Fight, Fight, Fight. Not very romantic, is it? Maybe.
No. I mean, that's for women as well.
Maybe that's the perfect gift for you from me. Would you like to smell like Donald Trump? This is Britain's Newsroom. If you can get a hold of a bottle, do let us know, because we would
I
love
have to warn you,
it.
it's $199.
I'm not spending that much on you, Andrew Pearce. You're going to get a bottle of Baby Sham or something like that. It's cheap fizz. Anyway, don't go anywhere. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Hi there, very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. High pressure in charge today, a stark contrast to last week's stormy weather. Cloudy for many, but frost and fog prevalent across northern parts of the country. Scotland, Northern Ireland, seeing some low temperatures as we begin the day, and some dense fog patches could cause tricky driving conditions, particularly through the central belt, and that fog could persist into the afternoon in one or two spots. Otherwise, sunny skies for Scotland and Northern Ireland. The Northern Isles affected by cloud and rain, and some showery rain coming into the southeast of England on a brisk northeasterly breeze. That's going to make it feel cold, 7 or 8 Celsius in the south, but below freezing where any fog patches persist. And that fog will tend to reform and develop more widely once again into the evening as the sun goes down, especially through the central belt, but also across many Highland glens and into Northern Ireland as well. Some dense fog patches forming widely after dark. Meanwhile, clear skies will lead to sub-zero temperatures once again for Scotland, Northern Ireland, parts of northwest England and West Wales overnight, but a lot of cloud remains for the rest of England and Wales. And again, some showery rain and a brisk breeze coming in from the northeast will keep temperatures above freezing in the south and southeast. But it's going to be a grey night across many southern and eastern parts of England as well as Wales. 4 to 6 Celsius first thing, where we've got the cloud cover, where we've got the clearer skies, all the freezing fog. Temperatures will be several degrees below freezing. So Northern Ireland, Scotland begin Wednesday similar to this morning. Frost widely, dense fog patches, some of that fog persisting into the afternoon. Otherwise, crisp winter sunshine for much of northern UK. Further south, cloudy skies continue, although some brighter interludes will emerge across central parts. Highs here of 6 to 8 Celsius.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. On the M6 in Cumbria, the northbound exit at junction 44 north of Carlisle is partly blocked by a breakdown. On the M3 in Belfast, the inside lane's closed eastbound, where a lorry's broken down on the Lagan Bridge, causing queues back along the M2 towards there from junction 2 at Greencastle. Stena Line and Irish ferry sailings remain suspended between Holyhead and Dublin. On the Isle of Anglesey, the A5 is closed each way at Gwaltmire because of a burst water main causing delays. In Lincolnshire, the A151 is closed along Bourne Road at Corby Glen after an accident. In Leicestershire, the A6 is closed north of Market Harborough near to Kibworth Beecham after an accident. In Ceredigion, the A44 remains closed east of Pond of Wyd because of a fallen tree. And in Monmouthshire, the A40 is closed each way west of Abergavenny for emergency repairs. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
(10:42). This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Well, Prince Harry's latest Netflix show, Polo, is out today. When you think, when I thought of Polo, I heard about Polo Netflix, I thought, is this the Jilly Cooper thing? Rivals. You think about, but this is following his favourite sport, polo, which is, as you know, the sport of kings. That's what it's called.
That's right. Elite Global Polo. I bet there's some absolute hotties in this show, I can't lie. It's following them as they compete in the US Open Championships. Might be some hotties in this. Take a look.
Polo is not just a sport. Polo is a lifestyle.
I do what I wanna, and I'm gonna.
For sure, it's glamorous. They put their Sunday hat on and a cute outfit. It's a sexy sport, too. Dirty, sweaty boys, riding.
Women never play it.
Blimey. I said there would be some hotties. Were you not watching what I was watching, Andrew Pearce? Why was I more quick to that?
I was thinking, no women play polo, do they?
Who cares? Have you seen the men? Anyway, after their last Netflix offerings flopped, an American Riviera orchard stalled. Will this latest programme be any different for the Sussexes?
Has she sold any pots of that jam yet?
No, she wants to start selling Trump's perfume. That might sell for her.
She made 50 pots of jam for her friends, and of course she couldn't get rid of half of them.
Let's talk to the royal reporter, Sarah Louise Robertson. Good morning, Sarah. Hi, good morning.
Guys.
OK, so just tell us how have we got to this place with this docu-series of Prince Harry? Is he in it much, even?
He's not. If Harry fans are expecting to see another Heart of the Invictus or their first Netflix documentary that they did, whereby he's taken a starring role, they will sadly be disappointed. Having watched this, Harry only actually appears in this a handful of times. We see him at the beginning. We don't see him again until episode 4, where he's in a smattering of times there. And then we don't see him again until episode 5. So as I say, he's in a very big thing, Beverly and Andrew, is when players' spouse or friends or family, they will pull up in their car by the field and sit there with a bottle of champagne or a beer in hand, sort of getting as close to the action as they possibly can from their car. So Meghan likes to present herself in this as this real supportive polo wife, and we see her rush onto the field to present her husband with a cup and kisses and all the rest of it.
But of course,
very good.
Sarah Louise, there's a big gap in this because, of course, polo is the favourite sport of Prince William, who, of course, isn't appearing in the documentary because he's not speaking to his brother. I mean, you can't do a polo documentary, frankly, by Prince Harry if you don't include the British royal family in it, because they've been playing polo for decades.
Agreed with you, Andrew. That's it. There is no mention whatsoever, and it's almost like Harry's just erased how he got into the game in this. So that's very interesting as well. He's focusing it solely on playing polo, where he is now in the United States, and also when he plays for the charity over in Africa. So it's across that, but it's like he's just eliminated that past.
Yeah.
History.
They're very good at that, aren't they? Curating their past.
Yeah.
Sarah Louise Robertson.
There are some sexy men.
I noticed. Royal reporter there, Sarah Louise Robertson. One for the ladies on these dark winter nights.
Well, not just ladies.
Oh, no, you're right, not just ladies.
Some men will be interested.
They will. Right, up next, GB News viewers and listeners, you raised over £50,000 for nuclear veterans to have a Christmas lunch meet-up.
And a holiday.
And a massive holiday. We're going to be checking in on them in just a minute. This is Britain's Newsroom, live across the UK on GB News. Don't go anywhere.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
In 2020, after almost 80 years, Oxford University's Pitt Rivers Museum removed its famous collection of shrunken heads with sewn-up lips and eyes made by the South American Shuar and Ashwar people. How do museums decide what should be shown and what should be confined to storage? Can controversial exhibits be left on display with suitable contextualisation in captions? Who would want to be a curator facing such controversial questions? For review, I'm delighted to be joined by journalist Eitan Smallman. Welcome to GB News. I think many people, when they hear that we're going to discuss museums or art galleries, think that it's going to be, oh, that wokery question. But it strikes me, and I think it strikes you too, that this is not just about wokery at all. There are some really interesting ethical questions here. For example, I mean, let's start with this one, and there are several examples of it. Should we be displaying human bodies, the remains of human beings? Should we be displaying them in museums?
Absolutely. It's not just the usual suspects, young snowflakes, who are objecting to these things. They're just naturally cultural shifts, and people of all ages and all political persuasions may feel uneasy about displaying human remains of any kind, especially human remains that have been taken against the will of the communities or taken violently. Hilary Mantel led a campaign to remove a 7-foot 7-inch skeleton of Charles Byrne, known as the Irish Giant, from the Hunterian Museum. He had specifically said that he didn't want to be displayed and didn't want to be taken by anatomists, and yet was displayed for a couple of hundred years until a couple of years ago. He hasn't had the burial he requested, but he's no longer on public display.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Bev. Right, Jack Carson is with the Nuclear Veterans Christmas Lunch. They're getting ready to celebrate thanks to the £52,000 that you at home raised for them. Here they are. Hello, Jack. I believe the atmosphere is building now at 10 to 11. What's going on there?
Well, we've cornered them at breakfast. We're currently at their... because they're off for a church service at about noon and midday, and then we're going to go on to that Christmas lunch. Don't worry, I heard you in the last hour. You will see me chopping sprouts today, so don't you worry about that. But we're here at the hotel where they've been staying overnight in Carmarthen, and of course we're getting very Christmassy in the mood. We're joined by Terry Hughes and all. Terry, come to you. You know, it was the GB News viewers that raised, over £50,000 to put a day on like this, to put this kind of event on. I mean, what exactly, does that money, mean to you? And what did you think when you heard just how much money had been raised?
I think it's absolutely amazing that the British public could raise that amount of money. In fact, we are a very generous nation in many ways. But to us as a family, especially at this time of year, it means a lot, but not only for the veterans, but also the descendants and their families as well, to enjoy ourselves as we would like to.
Yeah, I mean, and this is... You are a family, of veterans anyway. So what does it mean when you can get together with them? At times, obviously, I was with you anyway at your reunion at Pontins, Weston-super-Mare a few months ago. But what does it mean to get together again? And because you're all not to be so rude, but you're all getting old, and it was a long time ago. So what does it mean to get together every year?
Your time will come. Anyway, as I said, we're a family, and we like to enjoy ourselves, each other's company. We don't get to meet very often during the year, but this is one time a year when we can actually have a lot of fun, thanks to the British public and their generosity.
I don't know whether these are all your Christmas presents, Terry, but we're also going to speak to Steve. I mean, you're a descendant, so just tell us a little bit about, for you as a descendant, what days like this mean to you and getting together with everyone.
I think as a descendant, sometimes you feel quite isolated. I mean, you wonder, is my condition related to my dad's service? So to actually join a family group like Lab Rats, you kind of feel, actually, I'm not imagining it. There's loads of us, thousands of us. So it means an awful lot to be able to get together and put a few faces to names and especially this time of year, just pause the campaigning and just enjoy each other's company.
And just quickly introduce, you're actually going to open a Christmas present now. Who's this?
This is my son. He's 3 years old. He has a genetic condition as well, so he's as much a part of the community as we are.
Do you want to open your present as well? Should we see what you've got?
Open it?
What have we got?
Oh.
Oh. Look at this.
Dinosaur.
We've got a game, Dino Operation. We've got a game. Well, there we go. The Christmas celebrations have started here at the Christmas Nuclear Test Veterans Christmas lunch. We're going to be with them a little bit later on. You will see me in the kitchen very soon, Bev and Andrew.
Don't eat all the food, Jack.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you. That was just lovely. Oh, that's the first little one opening a present I've seen this year. That was so nice. Right, don't go anywhere. It's a huge day for the farmers tomorrow. There's going to be tractor protests are going to be hitting Westminster. I'm going to be there. Andrew will be here. We're going to talk to the organisers of it in just a minute. Don't go anywhere.
A chilly start will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. A largely sunny but cold day across Scotland and Northern Ireland. Much more cloud for England and Wales, and we'll see some thick fog patches forming once more tonight, particularly under this area of high pressure. That's bringing a lot of dry weather. Notice the isobars still close together across the south. Much of England and Wales still a cold breeze blowing out there. Some lively gusts to the west of hills, and one or two showers still grazing in across the far southeast of England and along the south coast. But for most it is dry. Some patchy rain turning up in Shetland later on. Generally sunny for Scotland and Northern Ireland. Temperatures though still struggling in places here, particularly where the fog is slow to clear. Further south 8-9 degrees at best, but again feeling colder with that breeze, which will continue to ease down as we go into tomorrow. The winds remain light across Scotland and Northern Ireland. A little bit of rain trickling into Shetland where it is a bit milder. Much of mainland Scotland struggling to get much above freezing, and the fog thickening up tonight, particularly in and around the Glasgow area and across the west of Northern Ireland. That fog is going to be dense, forming again this evening and lasting through the night. For most of England and Wales, it's just dry and cloudy. Some breaks in the cloud, northwest England, parts of northwest Wales. Keep some clearer skies here, may allow those temperatures to fall away. And still just a few showers feeding in towards London, across East Anglia and the far southeast, and still quite a brisk and chilly breeze blowing here. As I said, that will keep the temperatures up above freezing for most of England and Wales, but well below across Scotland and Northern Ireland, as well as that thick fog, pretty harsh frost. On to Wednesday, more of the same, although the fog is likely to be even more stubborn during Wednesday. It could last all day west of Northern Ireland, southwest Scotland, particularly in and around Glasgow. Patchy rain across Shetland, the odd shower still across southern parts of England, but many places will be dry. Still on the chilly side, though, wherever you are. Bye for now.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's our festive treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £50,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest ever Great British giveaway. What would you spend £50,000 on in the coming year? Spectacular holidays, a brand new car, home improvements, or maybe you'd just like to save it for a special occasion. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Why go out on a Friday night when Friday night comes straight to your home?
Talking about?
Join me and my A-team of top pundits. Chemistry tonight is electric. As we tackle the big stories of the day with wit, insight and fearless energy.
Man of the people.
It's all vibe.
Just a filing cabinet on wheels with a tie on.
So, order in Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, every Friday at 8, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then we throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cut through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
.11 a.m. on Tuesday, the 10th of December, live across the UK. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner.
So, the UK could be a threat from British jihadists, apparently, as thousands of terrorists are released from Syrian prisons.
Have paused asylum decisions on cases from Syria while the Home Office reviews and monitors the current situation.
That's the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, who has confirmed that all decisions have been paused on Syrian asylum claims as Syrians took to the streets of central London to celebrate the collapse of Assad's regime. They're deporting them from Holland, you know.
Yeah, and Austria.
Yeah.
Now, billionaire property tycoon Nick Candy is defected from the Conservatives to Reform UK to be the party's new treasurer. But it is controversial because he only spends a few days a year in the UK. He owns a £175 million penthouse flat at 1 Hyde Park in London. Do you feel that he represents you, Chris?
Well, I'm hearing Westminster will shortly meet Nick Candy with Nigel Farage, and Nick Candy wants to make Farage the next Prime Minister.
And those farmers, they're gearing up for a tractor protest tomorrow in London, Cardiff, Belfast and Edinburgh. It's against the government's inheritance tax raid. More on that to come.
A 26-year-old man has been arrested and charged in connection with the fatal shooting of a health CEO in New York last week. The suspect was arrested whilst he was eating at a McDonald's restaurant in Pennsylvania, 280 miles away.
And the perfect gift for a loved one this Christmas if you're stuck what to buy them. Trump in a bottle. Yes, President-elect Donald Trump has launched a new fragrance for Christmas called, get this, Fight, 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 with the tagline, a smell your enemies can't resist. Apparently, Bev's bought me some.
And Christmas party snobs find out about the legal actions civil servants can take if they are not invited to the work Christmas do.
And those nuclear veterans who took part in those tests in the 50s and 60s, they're enjoying a Christmas lunch today, thanks to you, the GB News viewers and listeners, and all the money you raised for them.
Well, we're with them, the nuclear test veterans here in Wales today. There's all these presents around, but I've not got my name on it, so Stay with me.
Send us your comments this morning, gbnews.com /your say. You're wearing Trump in a bottle right now?
No, I'd wear a different scent, different days.
Oh?
Never the same one.
Oh, you think you know someone? Right, here's the news with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you. 2 minutes past 11. The top story this morning. The UK and Germany have struck a landmark deal to crack down on migrant smuggling ahead of a major meeting of European ministers in London. Germany has pledged to tighten its laws, making it easier to prosecute smugglers who enable small boat crossings to Britain. The agreement also includes intelligence sharing and removing smuggling content from social media to disrupt criminal networks. Well, speaking at that meeting with European leaders in just the last half hour or so, the Home Secretary Yvette Cooper said the plan will boost border security and will save lives.
Gangs have been getting away with it for far too long. That's why today's meeting is so important. In recent weeks, we've already seen the important impact of a collaboration across our countries, the significant arrest of a major suspect involved in smuggling engines and boats, involving collaboration between the Netherlands, Belgium and the UK, the series of arrests that have taken place across Germany with the French-led operations in the last week.
A woman snatched as a newborn from a Nottingham hospital in a shocking case that gripped the nation has sadly died at the age of 30. Abby Humphreys, abducted from her cot just 3 hours after being born in 1994, passed away after battling a brain tumour. Her kidnapping sparked a nationwide manhunt, ending 16 days later when she was finally found. Abby, who later moved to New Zealand, became a swimmer, a flight attendant and IT worker before her death, which comes just years after losing her mother to cancer. Her husband, Carl, described her as a beautiful and strong woman, saying she fought her illness with grace and with strength. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has thanked British troops in Cyprus this morning for their highest form of service during a volatile time in the Middle East. He praised staff at the base for their role in fighting ISIS, delivering aid to Gaza and preparing evacuation plans from Lebanon. In a historic meeting with the Cypriot president, the leaders also pledged to strengthen ties, marking the first UK-Cyprus bilateral visit in 53 years. Sir Keir Starmer said the partnership could reach even stronger levels, highlighting shared interests in defence, in security and trade. Chancellor Rachel Reeves says that every pound of taxpayers' money will face scrutiny in a fresh spending review. She'll outline the approach alongside NHS workers today at Maidstone Hospital, promising savings and efficiencies to focus on the government's plan for change. Departments will be pushed to cut waste, aligning budgets with the priorities set out by Sir Keir Starmer. The review kicks off as Rachel Reeves launches Phase 2 of the spending review this afternoon. The billionaire Nick Candy is set to become Reform UK's treasurer, accusing the Conservatives of too many broken promises as he resigned his Tory membership. Candy, a close friend of Nigel Farage, called Reform the future of British politics and vowed to raise funds to secure its success in the next election. The property tycoon, married to actress Holly Valance, was pictured with Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago in 2022. Reform, boosted by recent Tory defections, has described Candy's appointment as its latest coup ahead of May's local elections. 6 people have been charged with being members of a banned Kurdistan terror group following an investigation by counter-terrorism police. The Met Force says the individuals, aged between 23 and 62, will appear at Westminster Magistrates Court on Tuesday. The Kurdistan Workers' Party, known as PKK, banned in the UK since 2001, has waged an arms separatist campaign in Turkey since the 1980s. Officers have thanked the Kurdish community in London for their patience during recent inquiries and pledged to continue engaging with them to address any future concerns. And in New York, a 26-year-old man has been charged with murder after United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson was gunned down in a targeted attack in Manhattan last week. Police arrested Luigi Mangione at a McDonald's in Pennsylvania after a customer recognised him from media reports. Officers found a so-called ghost gun, £10,000 in cash and a manifesto suggesting anger towards corporate America. Prosecutors also say that bullet casings marked with the words deny, defend and depose were found at the scene of the attack, potentially linking it to critics of private health insurance. The 26-year-old is now awaiting extradition to New York. Those are the latest headlines for now. Another roundup in around half an hour. Now, though, it's over to Andrew and Bev.
Just finishing our 11 o'clock digestive. Sorry about that.
Which I provide, of course, because
Yes.
GBNews don't.
Now, well, let's see what you've been saying at home. Somebody's here said, nice that you feel comfortable being able to swoon over the polo players, Beverly. Beverly, use my full name, I'm in trouble. If that was a middle-aged white bloke making comments about women in a similar vein, we've been bombarded with some sort of ist allegations in this country these days.
No platformed. Isn't that the expression?
But I don't want to live in that world. I don't want to live in that world. So I'm not going to stop myself going, nice polo players, because I think men should also be allowed to say, if they were women beach volleyball players, should be allowed to go, wow, they look amazing. I want to live in that world, Stephen, so don't have a go at me.
It is a hoot, though, isn't it? It's a 5-part documentary on polo, fronted by Harry and his wife, and there's no mention of the royals in it.
The thing is, they did the £80 million deal,
Yeah.
not because they're great executive producers, but because they expect access to the royal family. And if they're not going to get it, it won't last.
And they've blown all access because of the documentary they did based on his book and Spare and the Oprah Winfrey interview, which was just vicious.
And Benny would like to also point out, and this is a really good point, Benny, he's a GBNews member, thank you. It wasn't the British public who raised the money for the veterans, as we said in that last package.
It was our listeners and viewers.
It was the viewers of GB News.
Absolutely
Quite right. Broken Shadow says, currently the people who have legal and legitimate access to your personal data are regulated beyond belief. It needs to be ensured the same regulation applies to any new AI system or organisation. A lot of you talking in support of Silky Carlo from Big Brother Watch, who was on earlier to talk about this bill, which is being debated today about AI, making more decisions for individuals, humans, and also for the fact that there will be digital ID expected in pubs and clubs, etc., which means you can never go anywhere without your phone. And I think that's really chilling. And Jeff has said, can we keep plugging the new Christmas #1, freezing this Christmas? Let's make it. Have you heard about this?
No.
So you were all away, you were on holiday last week.
What about the record I did?
I'm sorry, that's not a #1. I'm sorry to break it to you.
It's a good cause, though.
It's a very good cause.
Great Ormond Street Hospital.
Very average singing from you, Andrew.
No, not average. Very worse than average.
But yeah, there's a song. It's like a spoof, and it's very critical of the government, and it's called "Freezing This Christmas."
I did hear about that because of the winter fuel allowance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it will come into focus because there's going to be a knock on the door soon when this cold weather really gets into a really cold snap.
That's right.
And an old person doesn't answer the door because they're frozen to death.
Correct. Brett has also got in touch about this issue of the march of AI and digital. I'm already having problems and arguments with my GP over text messages their computer sends out automatically that don't get to me. As long as the computer says it's been sent, they move on, regardless if you receive the text or not, ending up with conversations like, you missed an appointment, we sent you a text saying we changed it. And that is a big part, I think, of why we've got mental health issues in this country at the moment, because so much of this tech that we are enslaved to doesn't actually work. And it's incredibly frustrating when you can't talk to a human being.
But why is the government pushing it forward? What's in it for them? Why do they do it?
Cost savings, because just a computer answering questions is cheaper than employing hundreds of people in a room that might have to pick up the phone to you.
But how terrible that story that Suki told us about the liver transplant. The diagnosis, the decision on her place in the waiting list had been decided by a computer.
Oh, listen, we're talking about that song now. I think, the magic of the people working, our minions in the gallery. They've found it. Have a little listen.
It'll be freezing this Christmas without fuel at home. It'll be freezing this Christmas while Keir Starmer's warm.
So that's at the #1 in the downloaded singles at the moment.
That's extraordinary. How
That
damaged.
is the
Who would have
strength.
thought that would be in the first month of a Labour government that came in after 14 years of Tory rule, everything was going to get better, older people, you just thought they would be helping the poorer people. 10 million pensioners.
Don't know who they appeal to.
They don't know who they are. They don't know what they stand for
I wanted them to come in and be a
anymore.
success.
So did I.
wanted them to come in and to take this country by the scruff of the neck.
because, let's be honest, the Tories screwed up big time.
Completely.
They were a rabble.
Right, listen, we're going to move on now. Keep your messages coming, gbnews.com/your say, because we are having these lovely countdowns to Christmas Day with our very own Advent. We're hearing from church ministers all across the country. They've got a special message for you every day as they celebrate the festive season. Here's today's.
The GB News Advent Calendar, Day 10.
I'm the Reverend Mike Millman, and a very warm welcome to St Leonard's Church in Denton, where I'm priest in charge. The Office of National Statistics reckons that we sell so many Brussels sprouts in the UK over the Christmas season that if you were to begin lining them up in central London, you would get all the way to Sydney, Australia. That is a lot of Brussels sprouts. Now, whether you like Brussels sprouts or not, there is no denying that Christmas is a wonderful season for food. And rightly so, because food is right at the heart of the mystery of what Christmas is all about. See, food reminds us that we are dependent creatures. We need a life source, you and I, given to us from outside of us. And we see that in so many of the details of the Christmas story. Jesus, he's born in Bethlehem, which means house of bread. As Jesus is born, he is laid in a manger, which is a feeding trough. Why? Because just as we need physical food to sustain our temporary life, Jesus is bread for the soul, bringing eternal life to all who receive him in faith.
I just
There we are,
love
Bethlehem,
those.
house of bread.
Bethlehem means house of bread. I did not know that.
It's from the Hebrew word beit lechem.
Well, there you go. Entertaining and informative.
Jesus called himself the bread of life
Thanks to
because he was
Google.
the bread from... Yes, Google, not down to me.
Well, that
I've been
was
to Bethlehem.
marvellous.
It's a most extraordinary place.
You?
Yeah, it is incredibly spiritual. And I was there in December some years ago. But of course, it's an Arab country. It's Arab. So you've got all this Arab music. And there you've got the cradle of Christianity, where Jesus was born in the stable, against all the backdrop. It's just bizarre.
Oh, I'd love to go, actually.
It is really it's very powerful.
Right, you can see all of our special Advent messages as Christmas approaches. Visit gbnews.com/Advent.
So, with unrest brewing among farmers, they are descending in their tractors on Westminster. They're going to Edinburgh, Cardiff, throughout the country. Bev is going to be with the farmers tomorrow in Westminster. This is, of course, after the government's changes to inheritance tax in the October budget.
That's right. Farmers are claiming that those changes are going to cripple thousands of them. Of course, the government say they continue to support farmers. Well, joining us now is farmer and organiser of these rallies, Ollie Harrison. Morning, Ollie. That phrase we keep hearing from the government, we continue to support farmers, it's just ringing hollow, isn't it?
It's also winding us up a lot because we know they're not. It's patronising.
So what do we expect tomorrow, Ollie? I was there with you a couple of weeks ago. You bring in more tractors this time. There was one down there last time.
Yeah, so to be fair, it's a guy in Kent, Matt Cullen, that's organising tomorrow. I'll be there on foot. It's a bit far for me to bring one of these down there. But I think they've got over 500 tractors. I mean, it's the symbolism of the fact that we're going to lose 500 farms each year as well. That's the whole point of what they're trying to achieve. Yeah.
And, of course, the government is saying only 500 farms in total will be affected by these inheritance tax changes, but farmers and the National Farmers Union, you just don't buy those figures.
No, I mean the figures are completely wrong, but that's by the buyer. I don't even know why they think it's excusable to lose 500 farms a year.
I agree.
That's 2 every working day. You know, we've got to eat as a nation. You know, why did they want to lose them? It's just crazy.
Now, the tone from when we were all together last time, Ollie, was very much about reconciliation. It was about giving the government an off-ramp so that they can U-turn here without too much embarrassment. Do you feel the tone is changing amongst farmers now?
The anger's just building every day as nothing seems to have changed. I mean, there's a few things that I know about that might be going on in the background which might help at the moment, but no one has publicly come out. I think NFU met with Keir Starmer and he said, give us 72 hours, and then nothing happened after 72 hours. It was literally just like a way of getting us to shut up for 3 days. We're not going to. It's generations worth of work that's going to be lost. There's if they want a fight, they're going to get one. We don't want to get militant, but if we're not listened to, in the new year, who knows where this will lead. But we'd like to just say, look, sit down with us, let's explain our figures, let's look at your figures, and let's come up with a solution that will work for everybody, because there is one. We know there is one.
But you just keep being hit with resistance and a brick wall. And so tomorrow, metaphorically, you're going to try and smash it down. Ollie, I'll look forward to tomorrow to seeing the farmers down there. Thank you so much, Ollie Harrison there, farmer, sat in his tractor.
It's a big event, and we'll be covering it here, of course, live on GB News. And when we covered the last time they came here, we had our biggest ever viewing figures on GB News as a station, and particularly on this show.
Yeah, it tells you a lot about you at home, what you believe in, and who you're rooting for.
Yeah, and no doubt the radio listeners were record numbers too. Now, every day we run our poll of the day. Today we're asking a very straightforward question, and I think I know what the answer is going to be. Should there be more funding towards dementia care in Britain?
Well, 95% of you so far are saying yes, there should, and 5% of you are saying no, we spend enough. The final result will be announced later in Martin Daubney's show. For all of our latest news, polls and how to vote, go to gbnews.com/poll.
Up next, civil servants could sue, get this, if they've been not invited to a Christmas party. Hundreds of lawsuits because I never get invited to any.
This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes. Thank you for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Friday night live with Mark Dolan from 8 p.m.
Whenever I want to have a laugh, I will fire up a Ricky Gervais special on Netflix. He's funny, isn't he? Very politically incorrect. I might watch a vintage episode of Fawlty Towers if it hasn't been cancelled. Or I could just read up on the latest musings from the Welsh Labour government. And this week they have waged war on the countryside, which is apparently unwelcoming to British people of colour. Well, it's true, isn't it? I mean, those racial checkpoints in the Wye Valley are completely unacceptable. And the snowy bits of Mount Snowdon scream white privilege. Can you believe this story? It's proof, if you needed it, that Welsh Labour are barking mad and talking a load of shih tzu.
I think what's so interesting about this, I mean, this is an absurd question. This is ridiculous. Obviously, dogs and the countryside are not inherently racist. I think this entire connection between what is effective cultural Marxism in addition to what is effective socialism that is at the heart of Welsh Labour and many other hard left groups in the United Kingdom.
I got to do a correction.
Go on.
Because it's not Welsh Labour. It was one little thinky-tanky that did some research. I know it was taxpayer funded, but it was just a suggestion. Welsh Labour have not gone, yes, that's a good idea. This research, which I wholly agree is quite absurd, was done by interviewing the 4% ethnic minorities of Wales, and they came out with the fact that they don't feel welcome in green spaces because there are so many dogs, and that's how this was born. I mean, I don't know whether that makes it make any more sense.
And the fact that taxpayers are footing the bill for research like this is the real scandal. We had this earlier conversation about the National Health Service, where all of our money is going and being wasted, and it is also being wasted on absolute nonsense like this.
GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
I'm Isabel Webster. Thanks for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Yeah, little.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. We're chit-chatting away here about what the most interesting things are going to be to talk about while we have our wonderful panel with us. Head of Communications at the Institute of Economic Affairs, Reem Ibrahim, is with us, and also former Labour MP Luciana Berger. Right, ladies, where do you want to start? Shall we talk about this announcement this morning? We've got Christopher Hope in Westminster, Reem. He's going to be interviewing Nick Candy, billionaire, new treasurer for the Reform Party. What might the political ramifications of this appointment be?
Yeah, so I think it's really interesting. Of course, a lot of the media are talking about him as Holly Valence's husband, so not necessarily talking about Nick Candy himself.
Because she was in Neighbours and
of course, and she's
a big singer, wasn't she? A pop singer.
Big singer, also in.
You still say pop singer?
Quite a big, and also a film star, right? She's in quite a good few movies.
Yeah.
Especially in like the 2010s. I think that it's really interesting from that perspective. He's effectively saying that the Conservative Party have broken promises, especially when it comes to the wealth creators in this country. And I think that assessment is absolutely right. I mean, the Conservative Party have presided over the highest tax burden since the Second World War. They've presided over huge swathes of regulation, financial regulation, housing regulation, that means that young people cannot afford their own homes. Economically, the Conservative Party have absolutely failed in government, and I think that his assessment of that is absolutely right. That being said, there are those political ramifications. He is a very, very, very wealthy property owner, and so the question will be, can Reform still remain to be seen as the party that represents working people, the party that represents aspirational people, people that want to do well in this country, people that want to see the UK prosper, or will they struggle now to come across as anti-establishment when in reality a lot of their key political figures are part of the establishment?
Yeah, I mean, he's a billionaire, he's a property developer. That's what you associate often with the Tories.
But he's a self-made man, that's OK.
Well, there's a few things here. I mean, first of all, this is not a surprise. I mean, Holly Valence was, at many different events in the run-up to the election for Reform. She was seen adjacent to Nigel Farage. Yeah. We also, have seen many photographs that have emerged today, and we didn't see previously, but now this new appointed treasurer, Nick Candy.
She was at the launch of Popular Conservatives, which Trust set up as well.
Well, he's been present at a few things, but very much, he talks about Nigel Farage as his close friend. So, I'm not sure why anyone's surprised that he's taken on this role, and he's been very outspoken previously. And I just think all the signs were there to see that this was going to happen. I do think it's an unusual choice, to be kind, but actually I'm not sure how this resonates with the public. I mean, your viewers will be seeing all the pictures, the glossy pictures of the parties. I mean, we read today that he had a wedding that cost £3 million. He paid Katy Perry £1.3 million to perform at the wedding. He
lives in a £175 million penthouse. Very nice if you can get one of those.
And also responsible for this big piece of...
Well, I say good for him. I mean, why are we afraid of wealth in this country? Why are we anti-wealth in this country?
But this is not about being anti-wealth. It's about this is a party that is presenting itself as being the voice of people, and yet the people that they choose to put in positions of responsibility and leadership who are going to, support Nigel Farage and take the party forward are people that, don't seem to be connected to the people.
Richard Tice, of course, is a very wealthy property developer
Richard Tice, but even
very wealthy property developer.
Nigel Farage himself worked in the city.
Yeah,
and of course, he lost all of his money, dedicating himself to Brexit and to politics.
Yeah.
But either way, you could argue that all of these people are part of the establishment or part of the wealthy. That's not the point. I don't think that any of them are claiming to be currently, in their current financial situations, working class. What they are claiming to do is to promise and implement policies that are going to help working people, that are going to ensure that working people are going to increase their wealth. And ultimately, we saw the budget this year in October, the government increasing national insurance contributions. That is now, we've seen the economic impact of it. It's less jobs, it's less job opportunities, it's lower wages. Ultimately, what we are going to be seeing over the next few years is this conversation about the economics, which I'm very happy about. I hope that we can all contribute.
Also heard anything from Nick Candy in terms of what his policies are.
Well, his job is to raise money.
He's levelled the criticism, but in terms of what is his solutions, there's nothing. And actually, the solutions that have been put forward by Reform, are literally pie in the sky. They're not held to account. The manifesto.
But on the money,
is literally
Luciana,
baseless.
The Labour Party has been kept afloat for years with millions of pounds from trade unions. Reform is a small party struggling. They've got a successful businessman who can raise money, and actually mean Reform can fight on the same territory
So the Labour
as
Party,
Labour and the Tories.
The Labour Party has a proud history of being supported financially, first and foremost, by its hundreds of thousands of members, and that is in stark contrast.
No, the unions give millions.
They do, but also,
Tens of millions.
as a party member, I pay my monthly amount. I also pay
How much
extra.
you pay?
Same as the case for the Conservatives and for Reform,
Yeah,
but that's
exactly.
it's minuscule in comparison to everything else. The Labour
unions
Party
give
are
tens of
funded by
millions.
unions
They are.
predominantly, as the Conservative Party is funded by businesses predominantly and
not
by
so much
wealthy
now, actually.
individuals.
I think
Not
the thing
so
about
much.
it's worth thinking about. Nick Candy and his brother Christian, they bought a flat in 1995, a one-bedroom flat in London. They got a £6,000 loan from their grandmother. Fast forward to 2024, and they are billionaires. So I kind of like the idea that people like that who drag themselves up by the bootstraps. That is aspiration. That is normal people working really hard. And if he has any secrets as to how we can all do that or improve small and medium-sized businesses to become big businesses, that's got to be a good thing, surely.
And of course, I completely agree with you. And also creating the environment so that everybody has the opportunities to do that. Ultimately, I think that there seems to be this kind of politics of envy in part, but also this idea that wealthy people are bad, that wealthy people are somehow evil, and that they don't represent normal people. That's just not the case at all.
But small and medium enterprises, the backbone of this country. Without those businesses,
and this Labour government,
can you
tell
Rachel
Reeves that?
We've just had Small Business Saturday, and we just had a reception that
that's nice.
Celebrated.
Nice reception and drink, but they are still taxing them huge amounts of money. I mean, it's all well and good celebrating.
There's additional relief for small and medium.
Yeah, but hang on, they've even lowered the threshold at which employees have to pay national insurance from 9,500 to 5,000.
They've also provided additional relief to small and medium enterprises.
Hours of protest from business.
But for small and medium enterprise, they've increased the threshold.
Everybody knows that. We've seen this. We've seen the stats, and we've seen the impact on this. The huge amounts of money that small businesses are now having to pay, because ultimately the national insurance contribution rise really does show the difference between the impact of tax and the incidence of tax. Just because it's employers that are paying it doesn't mean that they are the ones that are footing the bill. It is employees, it is working people that are footing the bill of these taxes. So I don't believe that this government care about businesses, and I don't think they really understand why it is that businesses and ultimately working people are bearing the brunt of these tax increases. I think we need to stop being afraid of wealth.
We have to acknowledge also the economic situation that we find ourselves in. It wasn't just like,
You're not going to go on about this black coal, are you?
Well, you say go on about it.
It's not true.
It's not a drop in the ocean.
It's not true.
What do you mean it's not true?
Because the IFS said it was $9.5 billion. Rachel Reeves said it was $22.5 billion, and then whacked us with $40 billion of taxes. Can she not add up?
Because it was what was in year and what was the proceeds of it from not in year. It's just because you look at something in year doesn't mean that it stops there.
It was a
no,
fiction.
I don't accept that whatsoever.
There's also, so to be fair to Luciana, there is also the point that the public spending is increasing, and there's politically the Labour government are not going to decrease. I mean, they've increased spending on the National Health Service. The NHS budget is now going over £200 billion in a single year. That is absolutely outrageous, especially when you think about how awful these services actually are. I mean, more than 8 million people on waiting lists, people unable to get appointments, on the phone at 8 a.m.
And that's why we need to do something about it. And I think the viewers watching this programme... The viewers watching this programme who are waiting 6, 9, 12 months just to access what are elective treatments, which mean that they can't go to work. I mean, we've got a massive issue with our numbers of worklessness in this country, which is only set to raise. With the projections from the Office for Budget Responsibility says if we don't do something about it now, then we're going to double the amount of people not in work.
But unless they have more doctors and nurses, how...
What they've said is they're going to provide additional appointments and additional operations on the weekends and out of hours, because that's how we need to bring the waiting list down. We need to do something about it. So you can't complain about it, and then when they do something about it...
No, because what they're doing is spending more money on a bureaucratic black hole. What we should be doing is getting rid of the NHS and implementing what every other country in Europe has.
That's a debate for another time. Getting rid of the NHS.
I think we're very proud of the fact that we've got a free...
I'm not proud of a system that's killing people, no.
Right.
And on that bombshell...
Yes.
Reem Ibrahim, great to see you.
Always
Luciana
good to talk to you.
thank you so much for joining us this morning. Right, Sam Francis is here with your news headlines at 11:31.
Very good morning to you. It's just after 11:30. Well, the top story this morning. The UK and Germany have struck a landmark deal to crack down on migrant smuggling. Germany has pledged to tighten its laws, making it easier to prosecute smugglers, enabling small boat crossings to Britain. The agreement also includes intelligence sharing and the removal of smuggling content from social media to disrupt criminal networks. Well, speaking at a meeting with European leaders this morning here in London, the Home Secretary, Vet Cooper, said the plan will boost border security.
Gangs have been getting away with it for far too long. That's why today's meeting is so important. In recent weeks, we have already seen the important impact of a collaboration across our countries, the significant arrest of a major suspect involved in smuggling engines and boats, involving collaboration between the Netherlands, Belgium and the UK, the series of arrests that have taken place across Germany with the French-led operations in the last week.
Birmingham City Council has reached a deal to settle historic equal pay claims totalling some £760 million today. The agreement, which involves 6,000 low-paid workers, is being hailed as a historic outcome for women employed by the council. Settlement payments are expected to be up to 4 times higher than those offered in 2021, with payouts due to start in 2025. The Labour-led council declared itself effectively bankrupt last year due to these pay claims and has since implemented steep budget cuts and tax rises. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has thanked British troops in Cyprus this morning for their highest form of service during a volatile time in the Middle East. He praised staff at the base in Cyprus for their role in fighting ISIS, delivering aid to Gaza and preparing evacuation plans for Lebanon. In a historic meeting with the Cypriot president, the leaders pledged to strengthen ties, marking the first UK-Cyprus bilateral visit in 53 years. Sir Keir said the partnership could reach even stronger levels, highlighting shared interests in defence, in security and trade. A woman snatched as a newborn from a Nottingham hospital in a shocking case that gripped the nation in 1994 has sadly died at the age of 30. Abby Humphreys, abducted from her cot just 3 hours after birth in 1994, passed away after battling a brain tumour. Her kidnapping sparked a nationwide manhunt, ending 16 days later when she was finally found. Abby, who later moved to New Zealand, became a swimmer, flight attendant and IT worker before her death, which comes just years after losing her mother to cancer. Well, her husband Carl has described her as beautiful and strong, saying she fought her illness with grace and with strength. The family of a teenage photographer who inspired the Princess of Wales during her battle with a rare cancer is setting up a charity to fund vital research. Liz Hatton, who died last month at the age of just 16, captured global attention when she photographed Prince William at Windsor Castle, fulfilling her dream of working alongside top photographers. Well, her family's Just Giving page has already raised over £30,000 towards a £100,000 goal to combat desmoplastic small round cell tumour, which has no dedicated funding in the UK. Liz's mother, Vicky, hopes the charity will provide support to families and fund better treatments to, she says, give more children a chance to live. That's the latest from the newsroom for now. I'll be back with you at midday. Now, though, it's a quick look at the financial markets.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Well, let's take a look at the markets as they stand. The pound will buy you $1.2764 and €1.2114. The price of gold, £2,088.62 per ounce. And the FTSE 100 is at 8,303 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
So we're going straight to Westminster to talk to our political editor, Christopher Hope, who's got some interesting, at least one interesting guest with him. Chris.
Andrew and Bev, yeah, behind me you'll be seeing Nigel Farage with Nick Candy. Nick Candy's unveiled today as the party's new treasurer, of course, a billionaire. He says he can raise enough money to make Nigel Farage Prime Minister. It's a big moment, I think, for this party. They've already got people like Tim Montgomery over on the grassroots side. Dame Andrea Jenkins joined as the former Tory minister, of course. But this really is as important. It's the money getting sorted out for this party. Nick Candy, of course, he raised heavily for Sean Bailey back in the 2021 mayoralty, London mayor election. So it's a big moment for this party as it tries to get on an equal footing, I think, with the Tory party. Nick Candy, of course, was a Tory donor. He came out for Labour in the July elections, and now he's come round to reform. So he's been on somewhat of a political journey himself, but a real moment, I think, for this party that tries to get onto an equal footing with the main parties. Andrew and Bev.
OK, thank you, Chris. And Christopher's going to be talking to Nick Candy a little later this morning, I think. Let's see what Cameron and Emily are going to be doing at midday. Hello, both.
Cameron and me today, which is fun. Yeah, hopefully we will have that interview in our time with Nick Candy to find out why
it's going to be in our time.
Well, a man like that can
it's going to be in my time.
His own schedule, can't
We're going to speak to the billionaire who's now backing Reform UK, maybe. It is their big Christmas lunch.
Yeah.
Which is rather nice for the Reform Party.
Yes, hopefully hearing from Nigel Farage as well.
Do you think Candy's paying for it? Imagine he is.
Maybe.
Already?
Well,
lavish lunch, I would think so.
That'll be quick.
He's got a lot of money. He doesn't start being working for Reform until January, though, does he? So we'll see.
Well, I mean, do people think there are too many billionaires in politics, or do they not matter as long as it's their side?
Making the point, in 1996, he bought his first property with his brother, and with a £6,000 loan.
From his grandmother?
Yeah.
That was it. That was his start.
That's how he started. And now he's a billionaire. So that's an ethic we should support.
And also, we need houses. We need the property development in this country. If he has an insight into how to get the housing market moving, great, bring him on.
I think the property tends to develop are a bit out of most people's reach. His own penthouse costs 176 million.
Well, he is now.
Yeah.
He is now, but he wasn't always like that, was he?
I mean, if you're a self-made billionaire, you've got something about you, don't you? You probably deserve it in one way or another. And we're also going to be speaking to Lawrence Dallaglio, the rugby player, former World Cup player, because he's been talking a lot about how boys and men are being ignored, and he's got a charity on that. So we're going to be talking about that.
Very interesting.
Yeah, he does, because it's a huge issue, perhaps, because I think a lot of people are talking perhaps about girls and helping them go up the ladder, as it were, or people of ethnic minorities, but white boys in particular. A lot of people forget about them. They're left behind, and then their attainment goes right down. So it'll be interesting to hear his thoughts on that.
This must be related to the Centre for Social Justice report that we interviewed one of the authors of the report yesterday on the show, and they mentioned then about how this is something that they need to talk about, that we need to be addressing. We need to be looking at what's wrong with boys, and not wrong with boys, what's wrong with the system that's raising boys
he made
to
the point
fail.
that 76% of girls at age 4 are ready for school. Under 60% of boys are, and the boys never catch up.
Do you think you were ready for school back then?
I love school.
Not sure he's ready for school now, is he?
I loved school, actually, in the beginning. It just went off it as I got older.
Yeah.
You were there with your textbooks ready to go?
Yeah,
I think boys develop, though. I was rubbish at school when I started, and all the girls were way ahead of me, but then I caught up, so I think there is a bit of a...
We're going to go back to Christopher Hope in Westminster. He's talking.
So sorry. So sorry.
Andy, here he is.
There's Nige.
No problem at all. Right, we'll start over here. Yeah, fine. Okay.
Nigel Farage with Nick Candy. He's outside Millbank in Westminster. He's about to talk to Chris Hope, our political editor. And Nigel's obviously like the cat's got the cream, because this is a very significant defection from the Tory party.
It's a huge day for reform. You take a small political party, what do they need to gain momentum and to gain votes? They need profile and they need money.
And they need to be professionalised, and they'd be the first to admit in the last election they were not professional operation. But if Candy can raise the millions, which they need, millions, they will be well on the way to being competing with Labour and the Tories.
Most ever done in the UK.
How millions?
Tens of millions.
Tens of millions of pounds?
10 millions this morning, really.
Do you know Elon Musk?
Yes.
Will he donate to your party?
Oh, wait. Are you giving him your own cash? Of course. How much? 7-figure number.
Listening on the radio, Christopher Hope asked him how much can you raise. He said hundreds of millions, I believe. Was that what he said?
I thought
to support it.
That's a very short press conference. It's over already.
Christopher Hope then asked him, do you know Elon Musk?
Is that Camilla Tominey interviewing Nigel Farage?
Yes.
I think it is. We're all there. GB News. We get everywhere. Yeah. So
I think it's tens of millions, he said.
Is that what he said? Tens of millions?
I've shrunk. Oh,
but dodge the question on if he knew Elon Musk, or if Elon Musk would donate to...
Farage has denied this report that Musk is going to give about £80 million to reform. Why would he?
Well, Musk was also doorstepped a few days ago, and he also denied that he was going to be giving.
I don't quite know where that report came from.
I mean, Elon Musk has been tweeting in favour of reform for quite a while now.
He has.
Well, he's very
I mean, if he's going to put his money where his mouth is, I don't see why he wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm not sure
Fair
people
change?
want an American billionaire.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
It's not a great look, I don't think, American billionaire to be funding a British
okay
political
with
party. You know, I'm not sure.
If you are the global advocate for free speech, which is what Elon Musk would describe himself as, that is a man you want involved in politics all around the world.
And he would pay the money through his British company. It would have to be done that way.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people would have a lot to say about that, wouldn't they, Andrew?
Yeah. Well, it's a big day for Reform UK. Stay with us, because we are going to be going to that Christmas lunch. I mean, the amount of money that you earned at home, it doesn't sound much, we're talking about hundreds of millions, but it is a lot of money. You generously gave £50,000 for nuclear veterans. Remember, these are the men and women who were tested upon in
Christmas Island.
50s and 60s on Christmas Island.
Yeah.
Thank you. They're going to be having their Christmas lunch in just a minute. Jack.
Courtesy of GB News viewers and listeners, which is fabulous.
Stay with us.
Time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. A largely sunny but cold day across Scotland and Northern Ireland. Much more cloud for England and Wales, and we'll see some thick fog patches forming once more tonight, particularly under this area of high pressure. That's bringing a lot of dry weather. Notice the isobars still close together across the south. Much of England and Wales still a cold breeze blowing out there. Some lively gusts to the west of hills, and one or two showers still grazing in across the far southeast of England and along the south coast. But for most, it is dry. Some patchy rain turning up in Shetland later on. Generally sunny for Scotland and Northern Ireland. Temperatures, though, still struggling in places here, particularly where the fog is slow to clear. Further south, 8-9 degrees at best, but again feeling colder with that breeze, which will continue to ease down as we go into tomorrow. The winds remain light across Scotland and Northern Ireland. A little bit of rain trickling into Shetland, where it is a bit milder. Much of mainland Scotland struggling to get much above freezing, and the fog thickening up tonight, particularly in and around the Glasgow area and across the west of Northern Ireland. That fog is going to be dense, forming again this evening and lasting through the night. For most of England and Wales, it's just dry and cloudy. Some breaks in the cloud, northwest England, parts of northwest Wales. Keep some clearer skies here, may allow those temperatures to fall away. And still just a few showers feeding in towards London, across East Anglia and the far southeast, and still quite a brisk and chilly breeze blowing here. As I said, that will keep the temperatures up above freezing for most of England and Wales, but well below across Scotland and Northern Ireland, as well as that thick fog, pretty harsh frost. On to Wednesday. More of the same, although the fog is likely to be even more stubborn during Wednesday. It could last all day, west of Northern Ireland, southwest Scotland, particularly in and around Glasgow. Patchy rain across Shetland, the odd shower still across southern parts of England, but many places will be dry. Still on the chilly side, though, wherever you are. Bye for now.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment.
This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory.
Don't miss My Big Opinion, Mark Meets, and My Take at 10.
Democracy is a funny old thing.
And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it.
Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it.
That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Just seen an interesting story online that Storm Darragh has destroyed a solar farm.
We're not laughing, because that's somebody's livelihood, but the government's dash to solar energy and dash to net zero is going to be the ruin of this country.
UK's largest solar factory significantly damaged, leaving thousands of homes in Wales without power. And yeah, honestly.
See, they just don't think it through, do they?
Nobody thinks anything through. Right, now this wasn't thought through, of course. In the 50s and 60s, more than 22,000 British servicemen worked on nuclear testing in Australia and the South Pacific.
The veterans now want access to their medical records, which they've been denied. They also want compensation, because many of them suffered terrible health problems, and a public inquiry into what happened to them.
And health conditions suffered by their descendants as well. Well, back in October, the Veterans' Annual Reunion at Pontins was under threat. They didn't have the money to do it. You at home, GB News viewers and listeners, stepped in. Remember this.
So we asked you viewers and listeners to GB News if you could help out. Well, you have. We wanted £25,000 to pay for the holiday.
And we're now at almost £36,000. Nearly 1,500 of you have donated this morning. Brian, what do you make of that?
If I said I was totally gobsmacked with the beautiful generosity of you, the presenters, and all of your viewers, I'm speechless. I really am.
And in fact, the total reached £52,000, which so paid for the holiday in Pontin, it'll pay for the holiday in Pontin next year, and Christmas lunch today.
That's right. So Jack Carson is there, and we wish we could be there, Jack. We would have loved to have been there, celebrating with the veterans today. I presume... Oh, here he is. He's in the kitchen. We said we were going to put you to work. Right, make yourself useful, Jack.
Well, of course, we're in Wales, beautiful Wales, just outside Carmarthen. A little bit later this morning, the veterans are going to go for their Christmas church service. All of this is because of those fantastically kind donations from the GB News viewers. I mean, Susan Mossel-White, I mean, you're one of the founders of Lab Rats. While I chop some sprouts, you tell us, you know, what something like today means to the veterans, you know, means to the charity, all those fantastic donations. You take the mic.
Well, firstly, thank you, everybody, for all the wonderful donations that you gave to us to give these veterans the absolute perfect Christmas. A lot of them have no family, so days like today are very important for their mental health. And just being with their family, spending time with people who know and understand what it's like to be in the nuclear community. It's, you know, we're a very unique bunch, so for people to understand, it's only us really that can relate to them. So these sort of events for our veterans and their families is extremely important.
Thank you so much. And actually, Jess Coles is from the pub. They're cooking up what is an absolute storm. We've got Yorkshire puddings, we've got some Brussels sprouts, of course, that I've just been helping to chop. I probably wouldn't give them to any nuclear test veterans today. But Jess, I mean, tell us a little bit about, you know, what you've got on offer today, what these veterans are going to be enjoying at this Christmas lunch.
We've got a turkey and beef Christmas dinner going on with all the trimmings, sprouts, parsnips, you name it, it's on there. We even have a beef and chips in the mix today for some fussy ones out there. But yeah, no, it's going to be a good day. The weather's dry, so I think we're in for a good day, and I hope they all enjoy.
How does it mean for you as a pub to be able to support, you know, causes like this and support these veterans today?
Very important. It's very important for us to support a cause like this, because without these guys, it's altered our future. It's made things better for us and stuff in the world. So no, it's very proud as a family to support this.
Righty, Jess, Susan back there as well, and yeah, those poor sprouts that have had my treatment to them. It's all getting ready here in Wales for that nuclear test veterans Christmas lunch, all because, as we've been talking about all morning, those fantastic donations from those GB News viewers. Over £50,000 was raised, which means it all goes to this charity and their hard work, of course, to support and also to get justice for those veterans and their service.
Lovely, Jack. Thanks. He's at the White Hart in Carmarthen.
White Hart in Carmarthen.
What a great
Is that the home of Carmarthen Castle? We sent Carson to the home of Carmarthen Castle. I like that, Jack. Well done. Yeah, you can come and work in my kitchen anytime.
Are you thinking of Carnarvon Castle?
Oh, am I?
I think you are.
Oh, sorry, Mum.
Which was where there was the investiture of the Prince of Wales. That was at Carnarvon Castle.
Oh.
Yeah. C-A-E-R, Carnarvon Castle.
Well, we used to go on holiday when I was little. We used to go caravanning at another C-A-R. We used to go caravanning at Carnarvon.
In Carnarvon.
In Carnarvon. Sorry.
I'm just going to check it, because I might be wrong, but I don't think I am.
He's teaching us all sorts of things this morning.
No.
Bethlehem.
Yeah, exactly.
And all that. Right, let's see what you've been saying at home. And also, we should just mention, it is wonderful that those veterans are having that lunch today, because they said to us when they came in the studio that the hardest thing about being part of a community like that is feeling on your own, and it's so useful to them and so valuable, and emotionally it's so supportive when they all get together like that. But what else do they need? They don't just need a holiday, and they don't just need lunch. They need a proper inquiry into what happened to them. They need justice and they need compensation, because what happened to these people makes the post office scandal look like small fry. These guys literally were injured had things done to them, but the effects of those nuclear testing that have affected their own health, multiple birth issues, birth defects, miscarriages, fertility problems, and issues and illness that have been passed down through generations. They are brave, generous, wonderful people. This is a picture we're seeing where this was them at Pontins. That's Brian Onthank at the front there. He was the lovely old chap who came into the studio and had a chat to us here.
It is Carnarvon Castle.
It is Carnarvon Castle.
The investor was at Carnarvon Castle.
OK, not...
1969.
Not the same as Carmarthen?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
I got an A in geography A-level, you wouldn't know.
A different part of Wales.
Yeah,
but a great pub. But what a great thing they're doing in that pub, the White Hart, in Carmarthen.
In Carmarthen, yeah, it's absolutely wonderful. We'll get Jack to take some footage today and do some pictures of them.
And of course, remember the money that was raised will help pay for their trip to Pontins next year, which they really look forward to. And of course, they're getting older. Some of these veterans.
Yeah, they are. And every government has kicked this down the road,
they got a medal out of the Boris Johnson government, and it was sent in the post.
I'd forgotten that, in a jiffy bag.
In a jiffy bag. And they had to buy their own clip to put it on their lapels. Appalling.
Yeah. Grumpy Grandad said, I feel for the nuclear vets. They witnessed the worst weapon mankind has ever produced, and the only protection they had in most cases was a trench. And they were told to face away from the initial flash as it would blind them. Apart from that, they got no other protection. It is a very sad story. It really is.
And they had no idea what they were being led in for. I mean, they literally were used as laboratory rats, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. They were the lab rats.
They were guinea pigs.
Andy has said Nick Candy is a patriot.
Yeah.
Raising cash for reform to build Britain. That's worrying and annoying all the right people.
Yeah.
And Charles says, I think we must support the farmers to prevent Starmer's vision of Stalin's collectivisation of farmers, #not my prime minister. Just a reminder that protest is happening all around the country tomorrow. A big one will be here in London, in Westminster. There are tractors. Do you say 500 tractors coming from all around the country?
It started, and it's being organised by a farmer in Kent. But they're descending on Edinburgh, Cardiff, London. Good.
Yeah.
And we'll be there covering it. We'll Bever be with the farmers tomorrow in Westminster. I'll be here in the studio.
Absolutely. So do not miss that. Join us tomorrow morning at 9:30. Next, though, Tom and Emily. Oh, no, it's not Tom, it's Cameron. Here they are. See you tomorrow.
It is.
Thanks, Bev and Andrew. Could British jihadists be returning to Britain? Security services warning terrorism could be a big threat as Syrian jails shut at the fall of President Assad.
Yes, a very worrying development there. We are, in fact, going to be bringing you an interview between Nick Candy and, of course, Nigel Farage, as well as Nick Candy, the billionaire, moves from the Tories to Reform. How much difference will that make for that party's fate?
Exactly. And former rugby star Lawrence Dallaglio joined us talking about how boys can be supported in schools more. Join us next.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there, very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. High pressure in charge today, a stark contrast to last week's stormy weather. Cloudy for many, but frost and fog prevalent across northern parts of the country. Scotland, Northern Ireland, seeing some low temperatures as we begin the day, and some dense fog patches could cause tricky driving conditions, particularly through the central belt, and that fog could persist into the afternoon in one or two spots. Otherwise, sunny skies for Scotland and Northern Ireland. The Northern Isles affected by cloud and rain, and some showery rain coming into the southeast of England on a brisk northeasterly breeze. That's going to make it feel cold, 7 or 8 Celsius in the south, but below freezing where any fog patches persist. And that fog will tend to reform and develop more widely once again into the evening as the sun goes down, especially through the central belt, but also across many Highland glens and into Northern Ireland as well. Some dense fog patches forming widely after dark. Meanwhile, clear skies will lead to sub-zero temperatures once again for Scotland, Northern Ireland, parts of northwest England and West Wales overnight, but a lot of cloud remains for the rest of England and Wales, and again some showery rain and a brisk breeze coming in from the northeast will keep temperatures above freezing in the south and southeast. But it's going to be a grey night across many southern and eastern parts of England as well as Wales. 4 to 6 Celsius first thing, where we've got the cloud cover, where we've got the clearer skies, all the freezing fog. Temperatures will be several degrees below freezing. So Northern Ireland, Scotland begin Wednesday similar to this morning. Frost widely,
dense fog patches, some of that fog persisting into the afternoon. Otherwise, crisp winter sunshine for much of northern UK. Further south, cloudy skies continue, although some brighter interludes will emerge across central parts. Highs here of 6 to 8 Celsius.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
I'm in shock. That is absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Why go out on a Friday night when Friday night comes straight to your home?
Talking about?
Join me and my A-team of top pundits. Chemistry tonight is electric. As we tackle the big stories of the day with wit, insight and fearless energy.
Man of the people.
It's all vibe.
Just a filing cabinet on wheels with a tie on.
So, order in Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, every Friday at 8, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cut through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 12 o'clock on Tuesday, the 10th of December. I'm Emily Carver.
And I'm Cameron Walker.
While the British government frees its Syrian asylum applications as fears grow, British jihadis could return to the UK following the collapse of the Assad regime. This comes as a former MI6 chief warns there could be a serious spike in the threat posed by Islamic State in Europe.
And billionaire property tycoon Nick Candy becomes the latest defector from the Tory party. We'll be hearing from him and Reform UK's leader Nigel Farage in the next few minutes.
Yes, you won't want to miss that one. We're also going to be joined this hour by England rugby legend and World Cup winner Lawrence Dallaglio, because he's campaigning against the widening gap between boys and girls in British education. It's a pretty alarming prospect, isn't it, to think that potentially the prisons have been released and potentially British jihadis, people, extremists who've gone over to Syria